The woman grabbed the wheelchair and shoved it forward with all her strength. The 7-year-old black girl crashed onto the cold stone, her lavender birthday dress instantly soaked as water poured over her head. "You cursed cripple!" Victoria screamed, tilting the bottle higher. "You're nothing but trash, worthless!" Maya choked, gasping, her tiny hands clawing at the wet ground. "Stepmother, please, I can't breathe." And at that very moment, a thunderous voice ripped through the yard. "Stop!" The black millionaire stood frozen, and the birthday gift slipping from his trembling hands. What he witnessed would destroy everything he believed about his perfect family. Dear friends, before we continue this incredible story, please subscribe to my channel and follow Maya's journey until the very end. Comment below the city you're watching from so I can see how far this story has traveled. Now, let us begin. Marcus Washington had not slept in 36 hours. The tech conference in New York had drained him, but something else kept him awake on the red-eye flight back to Atlanta. A feeling he could not shake. A heaviness pressing against his chest, like a warning he refused to hear. He pulled out his phone and replayed the video call from last night for the 4th time. Victoria's face filled the screen, her smile too bright, her voice too cheerful. "Everything's perfect here, honey. Maya's doing great. She ate all her dinner and went to bed early. Such a good girl." But in the background, just for 2 seconds, Marcus caught a glimpse of his daughter. Maya sat in her wheelchair near the window, her shoulders hunched, her eyes fixed on something beyond the glass. She did not wave, she did not smile. She did not even turn her head when Victoria mentioned her name. And then the camera shifted away. Too quickly. Too deliberately. "She's tired," Victoria had said. "Let her rest, baby. Focus on your deal." "Dal." Marcus closed the video and stared out the airplane window. Maya never went to bed early, not on regular nights, and certainly not the night before her 7th birthday. Something was wrong. He had felt it for months now. Small things, insignificant things. Maya flinching when Victoria touched her hair. Maya going silent whenever her stepmother entered a room. Maya's eyes tracking Victoria's movements like a rabbit watching a hawk circle overhead. But every time Marcus tried to address it, Victoria had an explanation. Maya was adjusting. Maya was going through a phase. Maya missed her mother and needed time. And Marcus, desperate to believe that his new marriage could work, had accepted every explanation without question. The plane touched down at Hartsfield-Jackson at 6 in the morning. Marcus grabbed his carry-on and pushed through the terminal, ignoring the driver he had arranged for tomorrow. He rented a car instead. He wanted to arrive unannounced. He needed to see his home the way it really was, not the performance Victoria prepared whenever she knew he was coming. The drive to Buckhead took 45 minutes. Marcus gripped the steering wheel and watched the Atlanta skyline emerge from the morning mist. Somewhere in that city, in the mansion he had bought with his tech fortune, his daughter was waking up on her 7th birthday. 7 years ago today, Denise had given him the greatest gift of his life. He remembered every detail of that morning. The way Denise had squeezed his hand through the contractions. The way she had laughed and cried at the same time when the doctor placed Maya on her chest. The way she had looked at him with those beautiful brown eyes and whispered, "We made her, Marcus, look what we made." And then 2 years later, those same eyes had looked at him from a hospice bed, sunken and tired, but still fierce with love. "Promise me." Denise's voice had been barely a whisper. "No matter what happens, no matter how hard it gets, you protect our baby Marcus. You hear me. You protect her." "I promise," he had said, holding her hand as the monitors slowed. "I swear to God, I promise." The memory hit him like a punch to the chest. He had made that promise. He had sworn on his wife's deathbed. But had he kept it? Marcus turned onto the tree-lined street that led to his estate. The gates appeared ahead, tall and iron and imposing. He punched in the code and drove slowly up the winding driveway. The house looked peaceful. The hedges were trimmed. The fountain bubbled gently. The morning sun cast golden light across the perfectly manicured lawn. Everything looked exactly as it should. So why were his hands shaking? He parked and stepped out, leaving his bags but grabbing the gift from the back seat. A black ballerina doll in a purple tutu. He had searched 3 stores in Manhattan to find one with brown skin and natural hair just like Maya's, just like Denise's. Marcus walked towards the front door, then stopped. Voices, coming from the backyard. No, not voices. One voice, a woman's voice, sharp and angry, and nothing like the sweet tone Victoria used when he was home. "Stand up, you useless thing." Marcus's blood went cold. Sitting there crying? What good does that do? You're nothing but a burden. He broke into a run, his dress shoes slipping on the dewy grass. "Yesterday you made me look like a fool in front of my friends. You should just disappear from this house." He rounded the corner of the house and the world stopped. Victoria stood over Maya, who lay crumpled on the stone patio beside her overturned wheelchair. Maya's lavender birthday dress, the special one Victoria had ordered for today, was soaked through and clinging to her small body. Water dripped from her curly hair. Water ran down her face, mixing with tears. Water pooled beneath her paralyzed legs as she struggled to push herself up with trembling arms. Victoria held a large bottle of water, tilting it downward, pouring more onto the child. "You cursed cripple!" Victoria's face was twisted into something Marcus had never seen. Not his wife. Not the elegant woman who hosted charity galas and smiled for photographers. This was someone else. Something else. "You dragged nothing but shame into this house. If it weren't for you, I would have had peace long ago." Maya coughed and choked, trying to shield her face with her hands. Her voice came out broken, gasping. "Stepmother, I can't breathe. Please stop. Please." "You're nothing but a shadow," Victoria screamed, shaking the bottle to get the last drops out. "Always sitting there in that chair, waiting for people to feel sorry for you. You are trash. You hear me? Living is useless. You're worthless." The gift box fell from Marcus's hands. He did not feel it go. He did not hear the purple wrapping paper tear or the beautiful black ballerina doll crack against the stone. All he heard was his daughter's desperate gasping. All he saw was the woman he had married pouring hatred onto his child like poison. "Stop!" The word erupted from somewhere deep inside him, a sound he did not recognize as his own voice. Victoria spun around. The bottle slipped from her fingers and shattered on the patio. For one frozen moment, her face remained twisted with rage. Then, like a mask being pulled into place, her expression transformed. Horror, shock, wounded innocence. "Marcus!" She pressed her hand to her chest. "Oh my God, you're home. When did you... I didn't know you were... This isn't what it looks like." But Marcus was already running to his daughter. He dropped to his knees beside Maya, gathering her wet, shivering body into his arms. She was ice cold. Her small frame trembled violently against him. Her breath came in short, sharp gasps that did not sound right. "Maya, baby, look at Daddy." Her eyes found his face. And in those eyes, Marcus saw something that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Not just fear, terror, the kind of terror that builds over months, over years, the kind of terror that comes from being hurt again and again by someone who is supposed to protect you. "Daddy?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Daddy, you're really here. You're not a dream." "I'm here, baby girl. I'm right here." "She said you weren't coming back until tomorrow. She said we had to do my birthday dinner today because you wouldn't make it. She said..." "Shh, don't talk. Just breathe." Maya's small fingers clutched his jacket with desperate strength, like she expected him to disappear, like she had stopped believing anyone would save her. "Daddy, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I made her mad. I didn't mean to spill the orange juice. It was an accident. I tried to clean it up, but my chair got stuck, and she saw, and she..." "This is not your fault." Marcus held her tighter. "None of this is your fault. Do you understand me?" Behind him, Victoria's voice had shifted. Softer now, trembling with carefully crafted emotion. "Marcus, honey, please. Let me explain. You don't understand what's been happening. Maya has been so difficult lately. The tantrums, the crying, the constant demands for attention. I've been trying so hard to manage everything while you're away, and sometimes I lose my patience. I'm human. I made a mistake, but I would never actually hurt her." Marcus did not turn around. He kept his eyes on his daughter's face, on the red marks visible on her arms where the water had pushed up her sleeves, on the older bruises beneath those marks, yellow and faded bruises he had never noticed before. "Patricia?" The shout made both Victoria and Maya flinch. Seconds later, the back door opened. Patricia Barnes stepped out onto the patio. The heavy-set woman moved slowly, her eyes sweeping the scene with careful calculation. The overturned wheelchair, the shattered bottle, the soaking wet child in her employer's arms. Her face showed nothing. "Yes, Mr. Washington. How long have you been standing inside that door?" Patricia's eyes flickered to Victoria, just for an instant, but Marcus caught it. "I just came down, sir. I heard shouting and..." "Don't." Marcus's voice was quiet, dangerous. "Don't lie to me, Patricia. I saw your shadow through the glass. You were watching the whole thing." Silence. "How long has this been going on?" Patricia's jaw tightened. She looked at Victoria again, then at the ground, then at a point somewhere over Marcus's shoulder. "I don't know what you mean, sir." "You were with this family when Denise was alive. She trusted you. I trusted you. And you stood there and watched my wife pour water on my disabled daughter while she begged to breathe." "Mr. Washington, I think you're misunderstanding." "Get out of my sight." Patricia took a step back, her professional mask finally cracking. Fear flashed across her face. Not fear of Marcus, fear of something else. Fear of someone else. She retreated into the house without another word. Victoria moved closer, her heels clicking on the wet stone. Marcus, please, you're exhausted. You haven't slept. You're seeing things in the worst possible light because you feel guilty about being away so much. Let's just go inside, calm down, and talk about this like adults. Maya needs dry clothes and rest. We all need to... Do not come near her. Victoria stopped. The wounded wife expression flickered. Beneath it, Marcus glimpsed something cold, something calculating. She's my stepdaughter, Marcus. I have every right to... You have no rights. He stood lifting Maya in his arms. After what I just saw, you have no rights to anything in this house, especially not my child. Your child, Victoria's voice hardened. The mask was slipping and she did not seem to care anymore. Let me tell you something about your child. For 2 years, I have been the one here, day after day, night after night. While you flew around the country playing big shot CEO, I was the one feeding her, bathing her, putting her to bed. I was the one dealing with the therapists and the doctors and the endless needs of a crippled little girl who can't do anything for herself. Victoria, do you know what it's like? She stepped closer, her eyes blazing. Do you have any idea what I've sacrificed? My career, my social life, my body. I gave up everything to play mother to a child who isn't even mine, and this is the thanks I get. You come home early one time and suddenly I'm the villain. Maya whimpered in Marcus's arms. Her whole body had gone rigid with fear. It's okay, baby, Marcus murmured. Don't listen to her. Oh, she listens, Victoria smiled, a thin, cruel smile that did not reach her eyes. She always listens. Don't you, Maya? You're such a good listener, such a quiet little girl, never telling tales, never making trouble, because you know what happens to little girls who make trouble. Enough! Marcus turned and walked toward the side of the house, carrying his daughter away from the woman spewing poison behind them. Where do you think you're going? Victoria called after him. This is my home, too. You can't just... He did not hear the rest. He was already at his car, yanking open the back door, laying Maya gently across the seat. Her breathing had become worse, shallow and rapid and wrong. Maya, baby, stay with me. Her eyes were losing focus. Her skin had gone gray beneath its brown. Daddy, I feel funny. I know, baby. We're going to the hospital. They're going to help you. He jumped into the driver's seat and started the engine. In the rearview mirror, he saw Victoria standing at the corner of the house watching him. Patricia had emerged beside her. The two women exchanged a look. Then Victoria pulled out her phone and started typing rapidly. Marcus did not care. He only cared about the child in his back seat who was struggling to breathe. He called Emory University Hospital while speeding down the driveway. I'm bringing in a 7-year-old with respiratory distress. She was in water. She's having trouble breathing. Please be ready. Sir, can you describe her symptoms? She's gray. She's gasping. She's not responding to me properly. We'll have a team waiting at the emergency entrance. How far out are you? Street? 15 minutes. Drive safely, sir. We'll be ready. Marcus made it in 12. The hospital staff swarmed his car the moment he pulled into the emergency bay. They lifted Maya onto a gurney and rushed her through automatic doors while a nurse held Marcus back. Sir, we need you to wait here. The doctors are going to examine her. I have to be with her. She's scared. She needs me. The best thing you can do right now is let us help her. Someone will update you as soon as possible. The doors closed in his face. Marcus stood in the cold brightness of the emergency waiting room and felt his world collapsing around him. His phone buzzed. Victoria. Marcus, please answer me. I need to explain. He ignored it. Another buzz. You're making a huge mistake. People will hear about this. Your reputation will suffer. Another. Think about what you're doing. I have friends in the media. This could get very ugly for you. Marcus turned off his phone and sat down in a plastic chair that was too small for his frame. Around him, other families waited in their own private hells. A mother rocking a crying infant, an old man staring at nothing, a teenager with a bloody towel pressed to his arm. Everyone had a story. Everyone had pain. But all Marcus could think about was the look on his daughter's face when she saw him in that backyard. The shock, the disbelief, the desperate hope of a child who had stopped believing anyone would save her. How long had it been going on? How many times had Victoria hurt her while he was away? How many nights had Maya cried alone with no one to comfort her while he sat in hotel rooms thinking everything was fine? An hour passed, then another. Finally, a tall woman in a white coat approached him. Her natural hair was pulled back tight, and her eyes held both kindness and something else. Something harder. "Mr. Washington, I'm Dr. Angela Morrison. I've been treating your daughter." Marcus jumped to his feet. "Is she okay? Can I see her?" "She's stable now. We've got her on oxygen and she's resting. But Mr. Washington, I need to speak with you privately before you see her. There are some things I discovered during my examination that concern me greatly." "What kind of things?" Dr. Morrison glanced around the problem that surrounded the crowded waiting room. "Let's talk in my office." She led him down a long corridor past nurses and orderlies and beeping machines into a small room with diplomas on the wall and a desk covered in files. She closed the door and gestured for him to sit. Marcus remained standing. "Tell me." Dr. Morrison sat on the edge of her desk, her hands folded, her expression grave. "Mr. Washington, how much do you know about your daughter's daily care?" "My wife handles most of it. I travel frequently for work, but Victoria keeps me updated. She sends photos, texts." "When was the last time you personally bathed your daughter or helped her change clothes?" The question hit him like an accusation. "It's been..." Victoria said Maya was getting older, that it was more appropriate for a woman to help with those things. "Mr. Washington." Dr. Morrison's voice was gentle but firm. "During my examination, I found multiple injuries on Maya's body in various stages of healing." The room went very still. Injuries. Bruises on her upper arms, old ones yellowing, fresher bruising on her shoulder blades and left rib cage. I also found what appear to be finger-shaped marks on her skin, consistent with someone grabbing her forcefully. Marcus could not speak. I pulled her medical records from previous visits to our system. Over the past 18 months, Maya has been to urgent care 7 times. A sprained wrist, a bump on the head, bruised ribs. Each time the documented explanation was that she fell from her wheelchair. "She's clumsy," Marcus heard himself say, echoing Victoria's words. "Because of her disability, she falls a lot." "Mr. Washington, the location and pattern of these injuries are not consistent with accidental falls." "What do you mean?" Children who fall typically injure their shins, knees, elbows, foreheads, the places they put out to catch themselves. Maya's injuries are concentrated on her upper arms, her back, her ribs. These are defensive locations, places where someone would be hurt if they were being grabbed, restrained, or struck. Marcus gripped the back of the chair in front of him. His knuckles went white. "There's something else." Dr. Morrison's voice dropped. "Something I need to show you." She stood and walked to a light board on the wall. She clipped several x-rays into place and switched on the illumination. "These are Maya's films from today and from previous visits." She pointed to one image. "This is her left arm from 8 months ago. You can see here a hairline fracture of the radius. The report says she fell against the bathtub." She pointed to another. "This is from 4 months ago, a fracture of 2 ribs on the right side. The report says she tipped her wheelchair on the stairs." She pointed to a third. "And this is from today. New fracture of 1 rib on the left side, plus the soft tissue injuries I mentioned." Marcus stared at the images, at the white lines marking breaks in his daughter's bones, at the evidence of pain he had never known she suffered. These fractures show a pattern of repeated injury over an extended period. Dr. Morrison turned to face him. "Mr. Washington, I don't make accusations lightly, but I've been a pediatrician for 20 years. I know what accidental injuries look like, and I know what abuse looks like." The word hung in the air between them. Abuse. His daughter had been abused, under his own roof, by the woman he had chosen to replace her mother. "There's one more thing," Dr. Morrison said quietly, "and I want to prepare you because it's difficult to see." She pulled a photograph from a folder on her desk. "During my examination, I found these marks on Maya's lower back. They were hidden beneath her underwear, places that would never be visible unless someone specifically looked." She handed him the photograph. Marcus looked, and something inside him shattered beyond repair. Small circular scars, dozens of them, scattered across his daughter's lower back like a constellation of cruelty. "What?" His voice came out broken. "What are those?" "They're burn marks, Mr. Washington, consistent with cigarette burns. Some are old and fully healed, some are newer. Based on the scarring patterns, I would estimate these have been inflicted over a period of at least 12 to 18 months. "That's impossible." Marcus shook his head. "Victoria doesn't smoke. No one in our house smokes." "Mr. Washington, I'm not telling you what happened. I'm telling you what I see on your daughter's body. Someone has been systematically hurting her for a very long time, and the evidence suggests it wasn't accidental. Marcus placed the photograph face down on the desk. He could not look at it anymore. "Can I see her now?" "Of course, but Mr. Washington, I need you to understand something first. As a mandatory reporter, I'm required by law to file a report with Child Protective Services. A caseworker will want to speak with you and Maya within the next 24 to 48 hours. File whatever you need to file. And I have to ask you directly, what do you intend to do about your wife?" Marcus looked at the doctor, at the diplomas on her wall, at the files on her desk filled with other children's secrets. "I intend to make sure she never touches my daughter again. I intend to find out exactly what she's done, and I intend to make her pay for every single mark on Maya's body." Dr. Morrison nodded slowly. "Then you need to document everything. Take photographs of Maya's injuries before they heal further. Save any text messages or communications from your wife. And Mr. Washington? Yes. Be careful. In my experience, people who hurt children don't stop when they're caught. They escalate. They manipulate. They destroy evidence and attack the credibility of anyone who threatens them. If your wife is what I suspect she is, she won't go quietly, and she'll do anything to protect herself." Marcus thought about Victoria's texts, her mention of media friends, her threat about his reputation. "I understand." Dr. Morrison led him down the hall to Maya's room. Through the glass window, he could see his daughter lying in a hospital bed, connected to monitors and oxygen. Her eyes were closed. Her small chest rose and fell in steady rhythm. On her right arm, visible above the blanket, was a bruise in the perfect shape of adult fingers. Marcus had seen that bruise before. Victoria always had an explanation. Maya grabbed the wheel wrong. Maya caught herself on the armrest. Maya bruises easily because of her condition. He had believed every single lie. He walked into the room and pulled a chair to Maya's bedside. He took her small hand in his, careful not to disturb the IV line taped to her skin. "I'm here, baby girl," he whispered. "Daddy's here, and I'm never leaving you again." Maya's eyes fluttered open. For a moment, confusion clouded her face. Then she saw him, and her whole expression changed. "Daddy, you stayed?" "I stayed." "Victoria said you would leave. She said you always leave. She said you love your work more than me." "That's not true. That was never true." "She said Mommy died because she was ashamed of having a crippled daughter. She said God took Mommy away to punish me." Marcus closed his eyes. The cruelty of it. The calculated cruelty of telling a grieving child that her mother's death was her fault. "Maya, listen to me. Your mommy loved you more than anything in this world. She fought to stay alive as long as she could because she didn't want to leave you. And when she knew she couldn't fight anymore, do you know what? She made me promise." Maya shook her head. "She made me promise to protect you, to keep you safe, to make sure you always knew how special and loved you are." Tears slid down Maya's cheeks. "But you weren't here, Daddy. You kept going away. And when you were gone, Victoria..." Her voice broke. Her small body began to tremble. "Tell me, baby. Tell me everything. I need to know." Maya's eyes darted to the door. Even in the hospital, even with Marcus right beside her, that she was still afraid. "She'll hurt me if I tell. No one is going to hurt you ever again. I promise you that. But I need to know what she did so I can stop her." Maya was quiet for a long time. Her fingers tightened around Marcus's hand. Her breathing grew shallow. Then very softly she began to speak. "It started after you went on the long trip, the one to California. Victoria was nice at first. She bought me new dresses and did my hair pretty. But then one day I spilled my cereal and she got really mad. What did she do? She grabbed my arm and shook me. She said I was a clumsy, worthless cripple and I was ruining her beautiful house. I cried and she got more mad. She said if I didn't stop crying, she would give me something to cry about." Marcus felt his jaw tighten. "Go on." "After that, she was different. When you called on the phone, she was nice. But when you hung up, she changed. She would pinch me where it didn't show. She would squeeze my arms really hard. She said if I told you, she would send me to a home for broken children and I would never see you again." "Maya?" "Sometimes she would put me in the basement closet. She said I needed to think about what I did wrong. It's dark in there, Daddy, and there are spiders. I hate spiders." "How long would she leave you?" "I don't know, a long time. Sometimes until it got dark outside. Patricia would bring me a glass of water, but she wouldn't let me out. She said Victoria was in charge, and I had to do what Victoria said." Marcus thought about Patricia, about the woman who had worked for his family for years, who had sung lullabies to Maya when she was a baby, who had sat beside Denise's hospice bed and cried when she died. That same woman had locked his daughter in a dark basement and walked away. What about the Burns baby, the marks on your back? Maya went very still. How do you know about those? The doctor found them. She showed me. Maya's face crumpled. I didn't want anyone to see. Victoria said they were our secret. She said if anyone found out, that they would take me away from you forever. Tell me how they happened. Victoria has a friend, a man. He comes to the house sometimes when you're away. He smokes cigarettes on the patio. Marcus's blood ran cold. What man? His name is Damon. Victoria says he's her cousin. But they don't act like cousins. They whisper a lot and lock the door to her office. Did Damon hurt you? Maya hesitated. Sometimes. When Victoria was really mad at me, she would tell Damon to teach me a lesson. He would hold me down and... She couldn't finish. The sobs came then, great heaving sobs that shook her entire body. Marcus gathered her into his arms and held her while she cried. He held her while his own tears fell silent and hot down his cheeks. He held her while every illusion he had about his marriage, his home, his life, burned to ash around him. His wife had tortured his child. His wife had invited another man to help torture his child. And he had been so consumed with his own grief, his own work, his own denial, that he had let it happen. When Maya's sobs finally quieted, Marcus gently laid her back against the pillows. Her eyes were swollen. Her body was exhausted. But something had changed in her expression. Relief. The relief of a survivor who has finally told the truth. Am I in trouble, Daddy? No, baby. You're the bravest person I know, and you did nothing wrong. Nothing. Do you understand? She nodded weakly. I need to make some phone calls. I need to make sure Victoria can never hurt you again. Can you rest for a little while? I'll be right outside the door. I won't leave the hospital. I won't even leave this floor. Promise. I promise. He kissed her forehead and stepped out into the hallway. For a moment, he just stood there, letting the rage build, letting it fill every cell of his body until he felt like he might explode with it. Then he pulled out his phone and scrolled through his contacts. Detective Keisha Johnson, Atlanta Police Department, Special Victims Unit. They had met 2 years ago at a charity event. She had been investigating one of his employees for fraud. He remembered her reputation. Thorough, fearless, impossible to bribe or intimidate. He pressed the call button. 2 rings. Detective Johnson? This is Marcus Washington. We met at the Children's Hospital benefit. I don't know if you remember. I remember. Her voice was professional but not cold. What can I do for you, Mr. Washington? Marcus looked through the window at his sleeping daughter, at the bruises on her arm, at the oxygen mask covering her small face. I need to report a crime. My wife has been abusing my daughter. She's been doing it for at least 18 months, and I have reason to believe she wasn't acting alone. Silence on the line, then the sound of a chair creaking, a pen clicking. Tell me everything. So Marcus told her. He told her about the backyard, about the water, about Victoria's words and Maya's desperate pleas. He told her about the doctor's findings, about the bruises and the fractures and the cigarette burns hidden on his daughter's back. He told her about Patricia's complicity, about the man named Damon who came to the house when Marcus was away. He told her everything. When he finished, Detective Johnson was quiet for a long moment. Mr. Washington, I want you to listen carefully. What you've described constitutes felony child abuse and possibly conspiracy. If your daughter's testimony and the medical evidence support what you're telling me, your wife is looking at serious prison time. I don't care about prison. I care about protecting my daughter. I understand. Here's what I need you to do. First, do not go home. Do not confront your wife again. Do not give her any warning about what's coming. She already knows I saw what she did. But she doesn't know about the burns. She doesn't know what Maya told you. She doesn't know you've contacted law enforcement. The element of surprise is one of our most powerful tools. What's next? Second, I need you to preserve all evidence. Ask the doctor for copies of everything. X-rays, photographs, medical notes. Get the doctor to document her findings in writing. Already done? Good. Third, check your phone records and financial statements. If there's a man named Damon involved, we need to identify him. Any unusual transactions, any calls to unknown numbers, anything that seems off. I'll get my accountant on it. And fourth, Mr. Washington, I need you to prepare yourself. For what? For this to get ugly. You're a public figure. Your wife will use every resource at her disposal to protect herself. She'll hire expensive lawyers. She'll plant stories in the media. She'll paint you as an unstable, grief-stricken husband having a breakdown. She will try to turn this around and make you look like the abuser. Marcus thought about Victoria's texts, about her mention of media friends. She already threatened me. Then she's already preparing her defense. Mr. Washington, I've worked cases like this before. The perpetrators are almost never the monsters people expect. They're charming. They're convincing. They make everyone around them believe they're wonderful people, and when the truth comes out, a lot of folks can't accept it. They side with the abuser because the alternative is too horrible to believe. I don't care who believes me. I have evidence. I have medical records. I have my daughter's testimony. And that's good. That's strong. But I want you to be ready for what's coming, because the people who hurt children don't go down easy. They fight dirty, and they don't stop until they're in handcuffs or until they've destroyed everyone around them. Marcus straightened his shoulders. Then let them fight. I'm not afraid of Victoria. I'm not afraid of her lawyers or her media friends or anything she can throw at me. And Damon, we don't know who he is yet. We don't know what he's capable of. Then we find out. Detective Johnson paused. When she spoke again, her voice had shifted. Warmer, almost respectful. Mr. Washington, most fathers in your position would be falling apart right now. Most would be paralyzed by guilt and horror. But you're already planning the counterattack. I spent the last 2 years failing my daughter. I'm not going to fail her again. Then we're going to work well together. I'll start pulling records on your wife tonight. DMV Criminal History Known Associates. I'll have my team run the name Damon and see what comes up. In the meantime, stay with Maya. Don't let anyone except authorized medical personnel into her room, and if Victoria shows up at that hospital, you call me immediately. Understood? And Mr. Washington? One more thing. Yes. I'm sorry about what happened to your daughter. No child should ever have to go through what she's been through, but she's lucky to have a father who's willing to fight for her. Marcus looked through the window at Maya's sleeping form. I'm the lucky one, he said quietly. I almost lost her without even knowing it. Whatever I have to do to make this right, whatever it costs me, I'll do it. She's all I have left of her mother, and I made a promise. What promise? To protect her, no matter what. Detective Johnson was quiet for a moment. Then let's get to work. The call ended. Marcus put his phone away and walked back into his daughter's room. He sat down in the chair beside her bed and took her hand in his. Outside the window, the Atlanta skyline glittered under the afternoon sun. Somewhere out there, Victoria was plotting her next move. Somewhere out there, a man named Damon was walking free. Somewhere out there, Patricia was probably deleting texts and shredding evidence. But in this room, in this moment, a father sat beside his daughter and made a silent vow. He would burn down everything he had built, if that was what it took. He would sacrifice his reputation, his fortune, his standing in society. He would go to war against the woman he had married and anyone who had helped her hurt his child. And he would not stop, not until Maya was safe, not until justice was served, not until everyone who had touched his daughter in anger faced the consequences of their cruelty. That was the promise Marcus Washington made in that hospital room with the monitors beeping steadily and his daughter's small hand warm in his. A promise he intended to keep, no matter what it cost. 3 hours had passed since Marcus made that phone call to Detective Johnson. The hospital room had grown darker as the afternoon sun shifted behind clouds, but he had not moved from Maya's bedside. His daughter slept fitfully whimpering, sometimes her small hands clutching the blanket like she was afraid someone would tear it away. His phone buzzed, a text from Detective Johnson. Arriving in 10 minutes. Need to speak with you and the doctor. Do not leave Maya's room until I get there. Marcus typed back a quick confirmation and turned his attention back to his daughter. Her breathing had steadied since they removed the oxygen mask, but the bruises on her arms seemed to darken with each passing hour, physical evidence of his failure as a father. A soft knock came at the door. Dr. Morrison entered, her expression grave. Mr. Washington, Detective Johnson just arrived. She's asking to speak with both of us in my office. I've arranged for a nurse to stay with Maya. I promised her I wouldn't leave. She's sleeping deeply now. The sedative we gave her will keep her comfortable for at least another hour. And the nurse I've assigned Deborah, she's been with our pediatric unit for 20 years. Maya will be safe. Marcus hesitated. He looked at his daughter's face, peaceful now in medicated sleep, and felt his chest tighten. 5 minutes, he said. That's all I can give you. The walk to Dr. Morrison's office felt endless. Every step took him farther from Maya, and every step made the fear grow stronger. What if Victoria showed up while he was gone? What if Damon came to finish what they had started? Detective Keisha Johnson stood when they entered. She was exactly as Marcus remembered from the charity gala 2 years ago. Tall, lean, with close-cropped natural hair and eyes that seemed to photograph everything they saw. She wore a simple gray blazer over dark jeans, her badge visible on her belt. "Mr. Washington?" She extended her hand. "Thank you for calling me. Thank you for coming so quickly. Cases involving children don't wait." She turned to Dr. Morrison. "Doctor, I understand you have medical evidence of prolonged abuse." Dr. Morrison nodded and pulled a thick folder from her desk. X-rays showing multiple healed fractures over an 18-month period. Photographs of current bruising consistent with grabbing and restraint. And these. She slid a photograph across the desk. Detective Johnson picked it up. Her expression did not change, but Marcus saw her jaw tighten almost imperceptibly. "Cigarette burns. At least 24 that I counted. Some fully healed, some relatively recent. Based on the scarring patterns, I would estimate these have been inflicted over a period of 12 to 18 months. And the child's statement," Marcus spoke up. "Maya told me everything. Victoria has been hurting her since shortly after I married her, hitting, pinching, locking her in a basement closet for hours. And there's a man, someone named Damon, Victoria's cousin, supposedly. Maya says he comes to the house when I travel and helps Victoria. Discipline her." Detective Johnson wrote rapidly in a small notebook. "Damon, last name?" "I don't know. Victoria introduced him as her cousin, but Maya says they don't act like family. They whisper, they lock doors. Maya implied there might be something else going on between them. An affair. I didn't want to believe it, but now I don't know what to believe about anything." Detective Johnson closed her notebook. "I ran preliminary checks on Victoria Sterling Washington before coming here. Her maiden name is Sterling. She has one cousin on her mother's side named Damon Sterling. He's 34, works as a private financial consultant, and has a sealed juvenile record." "Sealed for what?" "I'm working on getting that opened, but I can tell you this much. Damon Sterling has been named in 3 civil lawsuits over the past decade. All financial disputes, all settled out of court with significant payments to the plaintiffs. The man has a pattern of taking advantage of people with money." Marcus felt his stomach drop. "Victoria introduced him to me about 6 months after we got married. She said he could help manage some of our investments. I gave him access to—" He stopped. The realization hit him like a physical blow. "Mr. Washington, the trust fund. Denise set up a trust fund for Maya before she died. $2 million for Maya's education and long-term care. Victoria convinced me to let Damon help manage it. She said he could get better returns than our regular advisors." Detective Johnson and Dr. Morrison exchanged a look. "Mr. Washington, I need you to contact your bank and your accountant immediately. Request full transaction records for that trust fund going back 18 months. You think they've been stealing from my daughter? I think we need to find out exactly what Damon Sterling has been doing with your family's finances. And I think we need to find out fast before anyone has a chance to cover their tracks." Marcus pulled out his phone. His hands were shaking, but his voice stayed steady as he called his accountant. "David, it's Marcus Washington. I need you to pull all records on my daughter's trust fund immediately. Every transaction, every transfer, everything Damon Sterling has touched. And David, don't tell anyone you're doing this. No one. I'll explain later." He ended the call and looked at Detective Johnson. "He's on it." "Good. Now I need to interview Maya. I know she's been through a lot, but her testimony is crucial. I have a child specialist who can conduct the interview in a way that minimizes additional trauma." "Not today." Marcus's voice was firm. "She just poured her heart out to me and then collapsed from exhaustion. Give her tonight to rest. Tomorrow she'll be stronger." Detective Johnson studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, I'll bring the specialist here to the hospital." "What about Victoria?" "I've already put a patrol car outside your home. She can't leave without us knowing, and I've flagged her credit cards and phone. If she tries to run, we'll know immediately." "She won't run." Marcus shook his head. "Victoria thinks she's smarter than everyone else. She'll stay and fight. She'll try to spin this whole thing around and make me look like the crazy one." "Then we'll be ready for her." Detective Johnson stood. "Mr. Washington, go back to your daughter. Stay with her tonight. Don't answer any calls or texts from your wife. Let her stew in uncertainty. The more nervous she gets, the more likely she is to make a mistake." Marcus was halfway to the door when Detective Johnson spoke again. "One more thing. Patricia Barnes, your housekeeper. How long has she worked for you?" 8 years. She started when my first wife was still alive. And yet she watched Victoria abuse your daughter and did nothing." "I know. People don't usually betray a family they've served for that long without a reason. Either Victoria has something on Patricia, or Patricia is getting something out of this arrangement. I'm going to find out which. Marcus walked back to Maya's room with Detective Johnson's words echoing in his head. Patricia had been part of his family for years. She had held Maya as an infant. She had cried at Denise's funeral. She had sent him photos of Maya and reassuring texts whenever he traveled. All lies, all performance, all cover for the abuse happening under his roof. The nurse looked up when he entered. "She's still sleeping peacefully, Mr. Washington. No distress at all." "Thank you. I'll take it from here." He settled back into the chair beside Maya's bed and watched her breathe. Every rise and fall of her chest felt like a miracle. Every moment she remained safe felt like borrowed time. His phone buzzed. Victoria again. "Marcus, I know you're at the hospital. I'm coming to see my stepdaughter. You can't keep me away from her." He stared at the message for a long moment. Then he typed a response. "If you come anywhere near this hospital, I will have you arrested. Do not test me." The reply came instantly. "You're making a mistake. I have lawyers. I have friends." By tomorrow morning, everyone in Atlanta will know that Marcus Washington had a mental breakdown and is holding his poor sick daughter hostage from her loving stepmother. Marcus showed the message to the nurse. "If this woman appears on this floor, call security immediately and then call this number." He wrote Detective Johnson's contact on a piece of paper. "Do not let her near my daughter under any circumstances." The nurse's eyes widened as she read the text exchange, but she nodded firmly. "Understood, Mr. Washington. She won't get past me." The night passed slowly. Marcus dozed in the chair, waking every few minutes to check on Maya, to watch the door, to listen for footsteps in the hallway. His phone buzzed periodically with texts from Victoria, each one more threatening than the last. At 2 a.m, a different message arrived. David Chen, his accountant. "Marcus, call me as soon as you can. Found something very wrong with the trust fund. Very wrong." Marcus stepped into the hallway and dialed. "David, what did you find? Where do I even start?" David's voice was shaking. "Marcus, the trust fund has been systematically drained over the past 18 months. Small withdrawals at first, then larger and larger amounts. As of right now, there's less than $200,000 left." The hallway seemed to tilt. 200,000, there should be over 2 million. There was, but Damon Sterling has been making transfers to offshore accounts, shell companies in the Caymans and Panama in places I've never even heard of. And Marcus, it gets worse. How can it get worse? Your signature is on all the authorization forms, except I compared them to your actual signature and they don't match. They're good forgeries, but they're forgeries. Someone has been signing your name to steal your daughter's money. Marcus leaned against the wall. His legs felt weak. "Is there any way to trace where the money went?" "I'm working on it. But Marcus, these accounts are designed to be untraceable. Whoever set this up knew exactly what they were doing. This wasn't amateur hour, this was professional theft. Can you send me everything you have, documents, records, all of it? Already compiled. I'll email it within the hour. And David, don't go home tonight. Stay somewhere else. Don't tell anyone where you are." "Marcus, you're scaring me." "Good. You should be scared. These people have been hurting my daughter and stealing from her for almost 2 years. I don't know what else they're capable of." He ended the call and immediately dialed Detective Johnson. It went to voicemail. "Detective, it's Marcus Washington. My accountant just confirmed that over $1.8 million has been stolen from my daughter's trust fund. Damon Sterling has been transferring money to offshore accounts using forged signatures. I'm having the documents sent to you. This is bigger than abuse. This is organized financial fraud. Call me back as soon as you get this." He walked back into Maya's room. She was still sleeping, but her face had tightened with some unseen dream. Her lips moved silently, forming words he could not hear. Marcus sat beside her and took her hand. "I'm here, baby," he whispered. "I'm not going anywhere." Maya's eyes opened slowly. For a moment, confusion clouded her face. Then recognition. "Daddy." "I'm here. I had a bad dream. Victoria was there. She was angry. She said you were never coming back." "That was just a dream, baby. I'm right here, and I'm never leaving you again." Maya's fingers tightened around his. "Daddy, I need to tell you something." "What is it?" "Victoria and Damon, they talk about money a lot. I hear them sometimes when they think I'm sleeping. Damon says they're almost done. Victoria says she wants to leave Atlanta after it's finished." Marcus kept his voice calm. "Leave Atlanta? Did they say where they wanted to go?" "Somewhere far away. Damon said it has to be a place where nobody can find them." Victoria laughed and said soon it wouldn't matter because... Maya stopped. Her face went pale. Because what baby? She said soon there wouldn't be any loose ends left to worry about. The words hung in the air between them. Loose ends. His daughter was a loose end. Marcus pulled out his phone and dialed Detective Johnson again. This time she answered. Mr. Washington, I just got your voicemail. I'm looking at the financial documents now. There's more. Maya just told me something. Victoria and Damon have been planning to leave the country, and Victoria said something about eliminating loose ends. Silence on the line. Detective, I'm here. I'm thinking. A pause. Mr. Washington, I'm going to move faster than I originally planned. I'm requesting an emergency warrant for Victoria's arrest tonight, and I'm sending officers to pick up Damon Sterling within the hour. What do I do? I'll stay exactly where you are. Don't move from that hospital. I'm posting a guard outside Maya's door until this is over. Do you think they would actually... He couldn't finish the sentence. I think desperate people do desperate things, and $2 million is a lot of motivation. The call ended. Marcus looked at his daughter, who was watching him with wide, frightened eyes. Are the police coming? Yes, baby, the police are coming to help us. Will they arrest Victoria? Yes. And Damon? Him too. Maya was quiet for a moment. Then in a voice so small it barely reached his ears, she asked the question that broke his heart all over again. Daddy, am I safe now? Marcus gathered her into his arms and held her against his chest. You're safe, baby. I promise you. You're finally safe. At 7:45 in the morning, Marcus was helping Maya eat breakfast when Detective Johnson arrived with 2 uniformed officers. Mr. Washington, Maya, she nodded to both of them. I have news. Did you arrest Victoria? We went to your house at 4 this morning with a warrant. Victoria wasn't there. Neither was Patricia Barnes. Marcus set down the breakfast tray. What do you mean she wasn't there? The house was empty. Her car was in the garage, but her clothes jewelry and important documents were gone. Same with Patricia. They cleared out sometime during the night. They ran. They tried to run. We found them 2 hours ago at a private airfield outside the city. Victoria had chartered a plane to the Bahamas. She's in custody now. The relief that flooded through Marcus was so intense he had to grip the bed rail to stay upright. And Damon? Detective Johnson's expression darkened. Damon Sterling is still at large. He wasn't at his apartment or his office. His phone is off. His car is missing. We've issued a warrant and alerted airports and border crossings, but so far nothing. He has my daughter's money. We know, and we're working with federal authorities to freeze any accounts we can identify. But Mr. Washington, I need you to understand something. Damon Sterling didn't just disappear. He prepared for this. He knew exactly what he was doing. You think Victoria warned him. I think they had an escape plan in place long before today. Victoria just couldn't execute her part fast enough. Maya tugged on her father's sleeve. Daddy, what's happening? He turned to her and smoothed her hair back from her face. Victoria got arrested, baby. She can't hurt you anymore. What about Damon? The police are looking for him. They're going to find him. But what if he comes here? What if he tries to hurt us? So Detective Johnson stepped forward. Maya, I'm Detective Johnson. I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen. I have officers stationed outside your door and at every entrance to this hospital. No one is going to get near you, okay? Maya studied the detective's face for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. Okay? Detective Johnson turned back to Marcus. The child specialist will be here in about an hour to conduct the formal interview. Are you ready for that? Is Maya ready? That's what matters. Maya. Detective Johnson knelt beside the bed, bringing herself to the little girl's eye level. I know you've been through a lot, and I know it's scary to talk about the bad things that happened. But if you can tell us everything, it will help us make sure Victoria stays in jail for a very long time. Do you think you can do that? Maya looked at her father. He nodded encouragingly. Will you stay with me, Daddy? I won't leave your side. Okay. Maya took a deep breath. I'll tell them everything. The interview lasted 2 hours. Doctor. Sarah Chen, the child specialist, was gentle and patient, letting Maya tell her story at her own pace, never pushing, never rushing. Marcus sat beside his daughter the whole time, holding her hand, watching her face for signs of distress. Maya described the first time Victoria hit her, the escalation from hitting to pinching to burning, the basement closet where she was locked for hours in the dark, the threats that kept her silent, the day Damon first touched a lit cigarette to her skin while Victoria watched. By the end, everyone in the room had tears in their eyes. Even Detective Johnson, who had surely heard worse stories in her career, had to step away for a moment to compose herself. When it was over, Dr. Chen spoke quietly with Detective Johnson in the corner. Marcus caught fragments of their conversation. Consistent testimony. Clear details. Highly credible. Detective Johnson approached him. Mr. Washington, based on Maya's statement and the medical evidence, were charging Victoria with aggravated child abuse, conspiracy, and false imprisonment. If Damon Sterling is apprehended, he'll face the same charges plus the financial crimes. What happens now? Victoria will be arraigned tomorrow morning. Given the severity of the charges and the flight attempt, I expect the judge will deny bail. She's not going anywhere. And Maya, Child Protective Services will want to conduct their own assessment, but based on what I've seen, there's no reason to remove Maya from your custody. You're her father. You're the one who uncovered the abuse. You're the one fighting to protect her. Marcus felt something loosen in his chest, a knot of fear that had been tightening since yesterday morning. Thank you, Detective. Don't thank me yet. We still have to get through the trial, and we still have to find Damon Sterling. She handed him a card. This is my direct line. If anything happens, anything at all, you call me immediately. After the detective left, Marcus sat beside Maya's bed and watched her sleep. The interview had exhausted her, but there was something different about her rest now. Peaceful in a way it had not been before, like a weight had been lifted. His phone buzzed, a number he did not recognize. He answered, "Hello. Marcus Washington." A male voice, smooth and confident. "We need to talk." Marcus's blood went cold. "Who is this?" "I think you know who this is. I think you've been hearing my name a lot lately." "Damon." A soft laugh. "Very good. Now listen carefully, Marcus. I'm going to make this simple for you. You have something I want. I have something you don't want anyone to see. I think we can help each other." "I'm not making any deals with you." "Really? Not even to protect your daughter's reputation? Not even to keep certain photographs from appearing on the internet?" Marcus felt his heart stop. "What photographs?" "Oh, you don't know about those. Victoria had a hobby, Marcus. She liked to document her disciplinary sessions. Very thorough records. Some might even call them artistic." Rage flooded through him so intensely he could barely form words. "If you release anything, I will spend every cent I have hunting you down." Calm down, calm down. I'm not threatening your daughter, Marcus. I'm offering you a deal. You drop the charges against Victoria. You tell the police you made a mistake, that you were confused, that your grief over your first wife made you see things that weren't there. And in exchange, those photographs disappear forever. You're insane if you think I would ever let Victoria walk free. Then maybe I should release a few samples to the media. Let everyone see what that sweet little crippled girl looks like when she's been properly disciplined. Think about how that will affect her, Marcus. The whole world seeing her shame. Every kid at school, every neighbor, every stranger on the street knowing what happened to her body. Marcus gripped the phone so hard he thought it might crack. "I will find you, Damon. I will find you, and I will destroy you. You have 48 hours to think about my offer. After that, the photographs go public. Tick-tock, Marcus." The line went dead. Marcus stood frozen, his mind racing. He looked at Maya, still sleeping peacefully, unaware that her abuser had just weaponized her suffering. He dialed Detective Johnson. "Damon just called me. He's trying to blackmail me. He says Victoria took photographs of the abuse and he'll release them if I don't drop the charges." "Did you record the call?" "No, it happened too fast." "If he calls again, try to keep him talking. The longer he's on the line, the better chance we have of tracing his location. Detective, if those photographs exist, then we'll get them. We'll find Damon Sterling. We'll seize every device he has, and we'll make sure those images never see the light of day." "Can you guarantee that silence?" "No," Detective Johnson finally said. "I can't guarantee anything, but I can promise you that I will do everything in my power to protect your daughter. That's the best I can offer." Marcus ended the call and sank into the chair beside Maya's bed. His whole body was trembling. The rage had nowhere to go. The fear had nowhere to hide. Damon Sterling was out there somewhere holding his daughter's humiliation hostage. Victoria was in jail, but her poison was still spreading. And Marcus Washington was learning that the fight to save his daughter was only beginning. Maya stirred in her sleep. Her hand reached out blindly until it found his. "Daddy," she mumbled without opening her eyes. "I'm here, baby. Don't leave. Never." She settled back into sleep, her fingers still wrapped around his. Marcus watched her breathe, watched her rest. Watched the sunlight creep across the hospital floor as morning turned to afternoon. He had 48 hours to find Damon Sterling. 48 hours to stop those photographs from destroying his daughter's life. 48 hours to end this nightmare once and for all. And as he sat there in the growing light, Marcus Washington made another vow. Not just to protect Maya, not just to punish Victoria, but to hunt down the man who thought he could blackmail a father's love. Damon Sterling had made a fatal mistake. He had underestimated what Marcus Washington was willing to do for his child, and that mistake was going to cost him everything. 26 hours had passed since Damon's call, and Marcus had not slept for a single minute. He sat in the hospital cafeteria at 6 in the morning, his fourth cup of coffee growing cold in front of him, when Detective Johnson slid into the seat across from him. "We found him." Marcus's head snapped up. "Where?" "A motel outside Macon. One of our informants spotted his car in the parking lot around midnight. We've had surveillance on him ever since, but we haven't moved in yet." "Why not?" "Because we need those photographs, Mr. Washington. If we arrest him now, he might have a dead man's switch set up. Some automated system that releases the images if he doesn't check in. We need to be smart about this." Marcus's jaw tightened. "So what's the plan?" "I'm working with our cyber unit. They're trying to identify his devices and any cloud storage he might be using. Once we have a clear picture of where those photographs are stored, we move." "How long?" "A few more hours, maybe less." Marcus looked at his watch. 22 hours left before Damon's deadline. "What about Victoria? Has she said anything?" Detective Johnson's expression shifted. Something that might have been satisfaction crossed her features. "Victoria Sterling Washington cracked at 3 this morning. She's talking." "About what?" "About everything. The abuse, the financial scheme, the photographs. She's trying to cut a deal, throwing Damon under the bus to save herself." "What kind of deal?" "She's offering to testify against him in exchange for a reduced sentence. She claims Damon was the mastermind behind the financial fraud and that he forced her to participate in the abuse." Marcus felt a surge of rage. "Forced her nobody, forced her to pour water on my daughter while calling her worthless. Nobody forced her to burn a 7-year-old with cigarettes." "I know, and the prosecutor isn't buying her story either, but she did give us something useful." Detective Johnson leaned forward. "The photographs aren't just on Damon's devices. Victoria kept copies too, on a laptop hidden in your house. She told us exactly where to find it." "You have the photographs." "We have Victoria's copies, but Damon has his own set, and according to Victoria, his are worse." Marcus's stomach turned. "Worse how?" "She wouldn't say, but whatever Damon has, Victoria was terrified of it being released. That's part of why she ran. She wasn't just fleeing justice, she was fleeing him." At 8:15, Marcus returned to Maya's room to find his daughter awake and talking with a nurse. The color had returned to her cheeks, and for the first time since he had found her in that backyard, she looked almost like herself again. "Daddy!" Her face brightened when she saw him. "The nurse said I might get to go home soon." Marcus glanced at the nurse, who nodded. "Dr. Morrison cleared her for discharge this afternoon, pending a final checkup. Her vitals are strong, and she's been eating well." "That's wonderful, baby." He sat beside her and took her hand. "How are you feeling?" "Better? Still tired sometimes, but better." "I'm glad." Maya studied his face with those perceptive eyes that reminded him so much of Denise. "You look tired, Daddy. Did you sleep?" "A little." "Liar." She said it softly without accusation, just stating a fact. "You've been worried about me all night." "That's my job, baby girl." "No." She shook her head. "Your job is to take care of yourself too. Mommy used to say that. She said you can't pour from an empty cup." The memory hit Marcus like a wave. Denise had said that many times, usually when he was working too hard and forgetting to eat or sleep. He could almost hear her voice, gentle but firm, reminding him that self-destruction was not the same as sacrifice. "Your mommy was a smart woman." "I know." Maya's voice dropped to a whisper. "Daddy, I heard the nurses talking. They said the police found Damon." Marcus hesitated. He did not want to burden her with more fear. But Maya had spent 2 years being lied to, being told that reality was not what she knew it to be. She deserved truth. "Yes, baby, they found him. He's hiding in a motel outside the city." "Are they going to arrest him?" "Soon. Very soon." "Good." The word came out hard, fierce. "I want him to go to jail forever. I want him to know what it feels like to be scared and alone and have nowhere to run." Marcus pulled her into a hug. His daughter, who had every reason to cower from the world, was instead showing more courage than most adults he knew. "He will, baby. I promise you, he will." At 10:30, Marcus's phone rang. "Detective Johnson. We're moving in. Cyber unit confirmed Damon's photographs are stored on an encrypted laptop in his motel room. He doesn't appear to have any cloud backup or dead man switch. We're going to hit him now. I want to be there. Absolutely not. This is a police operation. Detective, that man has spent the last 2 years torturing my daughter. He's been using pictures of her suffering to blackmail me. I need to see him in handcuffs. I need to know it's really over. Silence on the line. Then a sigh. There's a gas station across the street from the motel. You can wait there. But you stay in your car and you do not approach under any circumstances. Understood. Understood. Marcus arranged for the private nurse Detective Johnson had recommended to stay with Maya. He kissed his daughter's forehead, promised he would be back soon, and drove south toward Macon with his hands gripping the steering wheel so hard his knuckles ached. The drive took 90 minutes. Marcus found the gas station Detective Johnson had mentioned and parked facing the motel across the road. A dingy 2-story building with peeling paint and a half-lit vacancy sign. Damon Sterling's car sat in front of room 17 on the ground floor. 3 unmarked police vehicles were positioned at various points around the parking lot. Marcus could see officers in tactical gear preparing to move. His phone buzzed. A text from Detective Johnson. Stay in your car, we go in 2 minutes. Marcus watched as the officers approached the motel room door. One of them carried a battering ram. Another had his weapon drawn. A knock. Police open the door. No response. Another knock louder. Damon Sterling. Police open the door now. Still nothing. The officer with the ram stepped forward. One swing. The door crashed inward. Shouts. Movement. Marcus could hear yelling, but could not make out the words. Then silence. His phone rang. Mr. Washington? Detective Johnson's voice was tight. He's not here. What? The room is empty. His laptop is gone. His clothes are gone. Everything is gone except his car. Marcus's heart stopped. How is that possible? You said you had surveillance on him all night. We did. He never left through the front door, but there's a window in the bathroom. He must have gone out that way sometime before dawn. So he's still out there. He still has the photographs, and now he knows you were watching him. I'm sorry, Mr. Washington. We underestimated him. Marcus ended the call and slammed his fist against the steering wheel. The pain felt good. Real. Something to focus on besides the terror clawing at his chest. Damon Sterling was in the wind. He had the photographs. He had nothing left to lose, and he was angry. Marcus drove back to Atlanta faster than he should have, his mind racing through possibilities. Where would Damon go? What would he do now that his escape had been cut off? He was 15 minutes from the hospital when his phone rang again, a number he did not recognize. He answered, "Hello." You shouldn't have involved the police, Marcus. Damon's voice was calm, almost casual. That was a mistake. Where are you? Closer than you think. I've been watching you, Marcus. Watching how you rush back and forth between the hospital and the police station. Watching how you never leave your precious daughter alone for more than a few hours. Marcus's blood went cold. If you touch her, relax. I'm not going to hurt Maya. She's been through enough, don't you think? Besides, hurting her doesn't get me what I want. What do you want? The same thing I've always wanted. Money. Your wife and I had a nice arrangement going until you came home early and ruined everything. $2 million, Marcus. That's what you owe me for screwing up my retirement plan. You stole almost $2 million from my daughter's trust fund. And your police friends have frozen most of it. Very inconvenient. So now you're going to make it right. $2 million in cryptocurrency transferred to an address I'll provide. Once the transfer clears, the photographs disappear forever. How do I know you'll actually delete them? You don't, but you know what happens if you don't pay. Every news outlet in the country gets a preview of what Victoria and I did to that sweet little girl. Social media, dark web, everywhere. Her suffering becomes entertainment for millions of strangers. Is that what you want for her? Marcus pulled over to the side of the road. He could not drive while his hands were shaking this badly. How long do I have? 12 hours, midnight tonight. After that, the photographs go public and I disappear somewhere you'll never find me. I need more time. Getting $2 million in cryptocurrency isn't easy. Figure it out. You're a tech genius, aren't you? Build an app or something? Damon laughed at his own joke. 12 hours, Marcus. Don't be late. The line went dead. Marcus sat in his car for a long moment staring at nothing. Then he dialed Detective Johnson. He just called. He wants $2 million in cryptocurrency by midnight or he releases everything. Can you get the money? Yes, but it will clean out most of my liquid assets. Don't pay him yet. Let me try something first. Detective, I can't gamble with my daughter's future. I'm not asking you to gamble. I'm asking you to give me 6 hours. If I can't find him by then, you pay the ransom and pray he keeps his word. Marcus checked his watch. 1:15 in the afternoon. 6 hours would put them at 7:15. 5 hours before midnight. Fine, 6 hours, but not a minute more. He drove to the hospital and went straight to Maya's room. She was sitting up in bed, coloring in a book the nurses had given her. The private nurse sat in the corner reading. "Daddy?" Maya's face lit up, then fell when she saw his expression. "What's wrong? Did something bad happen?" Marcus forced himself to smile. "Nothing for you to worry about, baby, just grown-up stuff." "Damon got away, didn't he?" He could not lie to her. "Yes, but the police are looking for him. They're going to find him." "He called you." It was not a question. "I can tell from your face. What did he say?" Marcus sat beside her and took her hand. "He's trying to scare us, but he's not going to win Maya. I won't let him win." "What if he shows people the pictures?" Marcus's heart shattered. She knew about the photographs. Of course she knew. She had been there when they were taken. "Then we'll deal with it together. But Maya, I want you to understand something. No matter what happens, no matter what anyone sees, you have nothing to be ashamed of. What they did to you was not your fault. It will never be your fault. And anyone who looks at those pictures and feels anything other than compassion for you is not worth knowing." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "But everyone will see. Everyone will know. They'll know that you survived. They'll know that you were brave and strong and that you never gave up. And they'll know that the people who hurt you are going to spend the rest of their lives in prison." Maya buried her face in his chest and cried. Marcus held her and let his own tears fall silently into her hair. 4:17 in the afternoon. 2 hours and 43 minutes since Marcus gave Detective Johnson her deadline. No updates, no progress. He paced Maya's hospital room while she napped, his phone clutched in his hand, willing it to ring. At 4:32, it finally did. "We found something." Detective Johnson's voice was sharp with excitement. One of Victoria's credit cards was just used at a convenience store in Decatur. Security footage shows Damon making the purchase. He's still in the city. He never left. He's been hiding right under our noses. We're converging on the area now. What about the photographs? We're going to get him, Mr. Washington, and when we do, we're going to seize every device he has. What if he's already uploaded them somewhere? What if grabbing him triggers the release? Then we'll deal with that too, but right now, this is our best chance. Marcus ended the call and resumed pacing. Maya stirred but did not wake. 4:58, 5:23, 5:41. Each minute felt like an hour. At 6:03, Detective Johnson called again. "We have him." Marcus grabbed the bed rail to steady himself. "You arrested him." "He tried to run when he saw us coming. Got 3 blocks before an officer tackled him. He's in custody now." "The photographs." "We found his laptop in the backpack he was carrying. Cyber unit is going through it right now." "Did you find them? The pictures?" A pause. "Mr. Washington, I need to be honest with you. We found a folder on the laptop with encrypted files. It's password protected. We're working on breaking through, but it might take time." "How much time?" "I don't know, hours, maybe longer." Marcus looked at his watch. 5 hours and 57 minutes until midnight. 5 hours and 57 minutes until Damon's deadline. What if you can't break the encryption in time? Then we'll make him give us the password. How? He's not going to cooperate. We'll offer him a deal. Reduce charges in exchange for the password and confirmation that no copies exist anywhere else. You want to give him a deal after what he did? I want to protect your daughter, Mr. Washington. Sometimes that means making uncomfortable choices. Marcus closed his eyes and forced himself to breathe. In through his nose, out through his mouth, just like Denise used to tell him when he was stressed. Do what you have to do. Just keep those pictures from going public. At 7:15, Detective Johnson called with an update. He won't talk. His lawyer is arguing that we can't prove the encrypted files contain anything illegal. Without the password, we can't verify what's on them. So we're stuck. Not necessarily. The cyber unit has identified a vulnerability in his encryption software. They think they can crack it, but it's going to be close. Maybe another 3 or 4 hours. 3 or 4 hours. That would put them right at midnight. What if they can't do it? Then we go to Plan B. What's Plan B? Detective Johnson hesitated. You pay the ransom. We trace the cryptocurrency. We catch him later. He's already in custody. But his lawyer is already filing motions for release. If we can't prove what's on that laptop, a judge might grant bail. And then he disappears for real this time. Marcus felt the walls closing in. Every option seemed to lead to more uncertainty, more risk, more ways for Damon Sterling to escape justice. Let me talk to him. What? Damon? Let me talk to him face to face. Maybe I can convince him to give up the password. Mr. Washington, that's not how this works. You can't just walk into an interrogation room and... He called me twice to gloat. He threatened my daughter. He made this personal. Let me make it personal back. Silence on the line. Then, surprisingly, a soft laugh. You know what, fine. Come down to the precinct. But I'm going to be in the room with you, and the moment things get out of hand, the conversation is over. Marcus arrived at the police precinct at 8:45. Detective Johnson met him in the lobby and led him through a maze of hallways to an interrogation room with a one-way mirror. He's in there. His lawyer stepped out to make a phone call, so we have maybe 10 minutes. Marcus looked through the glass. Damon Sterling sat at a metal table, his hands cuffed in front of him, his expression calm and almost amused. He looked like a man who still thought he was going to win. Let's go. Detective Johnson opened the door and Marcus walked in. Damon looked up. His smile widened. Marcus Washington. Finally, we meet in person. Marcus sat across from him. Give me the password. Why would I do that? Because right now you're looking at charges for financial fraud and conspiracy to commit child abuse. If those photographs get released, the whole world sees you for what you really are. A man who burned a 7-year-old girl with cigarettes and then took pictures of her wounds. You think you'll survive 5 minutes in prison once the other inmates find out? Damon's smile flickered but held. I'm not going to prison. My lawyer is very good. Your lawyer is filing motions. The cyber unit is breaking your encryption. One way or another, we're going to see what's on that laptop. The only question is whether you cooperate now and maybe get a deal, or you wait until we crack it and throw everything we have at you. What kind of deal? That's not up to me. That's up to the prosecutor. But I can tell you this. If those photographs go public, I will spend every cent I have making sure you get the maximum sentence. I will hire private investigators. I will fund victims' advocacy groups. I will make your face so famous that everyone in this country knows exactly what you did to my daughter. You won't be able to hide. You won't be able to start over. Your life will be over. Damon leaned back in his chair. You're bluffing. Try me. The two men stared at each other. Marcus did not blink. He did not look away. He let every ounce of the rage and grief and protective fury he felt show in his eyes. Seconds ticked by. 10, 20, 30. Finally, Damon's jaw tightened. The password is Denise Payback, capital D, capital P, all one word. Marcus felt the room spin. What did you say? But you heard me, Denise Payback. That was Victoria's idea. She really hated your first wife, you know, jealous of a dead woman. Marcus shot to his feet so fast his chair crashed backward. Detective Johnson grabbed his arm before he could lunge across the table. Easy, Mr. Washington. We got what we needed. She pushed him toward the door. He went, but not before looking back at Damon one final time. I hope you rot in hell. Damon just smiled. At 9:23, Detective Johnson called Marcus with the news. The password worked. We accessed all the encrypted files. Her voice was heavy. Mr. Washington, I've seen a lot of terrible things in my career. What's on that laptop is among the worst. How bad? Bad enough that Damon Sterling is never going to see the outside of a prison cell. We found hundreds of images and videos, detailed documentation of abuse going back over a year. Victoria was meticulous. Marcus's stomach turned. What happens to them now? They're evidence. They'll be used in the trial to secure convictions, but they'll be sealed. No one will see them except the judge, the jury, and the attorneys. I'll make sure of that personally. And after the trial, destroyed. Every copy. I'll watch it happen myself. Marcus leaned against the wall of the hospital corridor and let out a breath he felt like he had been holding for days. It's really over. The threat is over. Damon Sterling is going to prison. Victoria Sterling is going to prison. Patricia Barnes has agreed to testify against both of them in exchange for a reduced sentence. The case is solid, Mr. Washington. These people are never going to hurt your daughter again. When Marcus returned to Maya's room, she was awake and waiting for him. The moment she saw his face, her eyes went wide. Daddy, what happened? He crossed to her bed and took her hands in his. They got him, baby. They got Damon. He's in jail. The photographs are in police custody, and no one is ever going to see them. It's over. Maya stared at him for a long moment. Then very slowly she started to cry. But these were different tears than before. Not tears of fear or pain or despair. These were tears of relief. Tears of release. Tears that had been building for 2 years finally allowed to fall. Marcus held his daughter while she wept, and for the first time since that morning in the backyard, he let himself believe that everything was going to be okay. At 11:58 that night, 2 minutes before Damon's original deadline, Marcus sat beside Maya's bed and watched her sleep peacefully for the first time since her nightmare had begun. His phone buzzed. A text from Detective Johnson. "Just wanted you to know, Damon Sterling was formally charged tonight. 47 counts of child abuse conspiracy, financial fraud, blackmail, and possession of child exploitation material. Judge denied bail. He's not going anywhere." Marcus typed back 2 words. "Thank you." He put down his phone and took his daughter's hand. Outside the window, the Atlanta skyline glittered with a million lights. Somewhere out there, Victoria Sterling was spending her first night in a jail cell. Somewhere out there, Damon Sterling was learning that his smug confidence could not protect him from consequences. Somewhere out there, justice was being served. But in this room, in this moment, all that mattered was the small hand wrapped around his fingers and the peaceful breathing of a child who finally felt safe. Marcus leaned his head back and closed his eyes. For the first time in days, he slept. 3 weeks had passed since Damon Sterling's arrest, and the world Marcus Washington once knew had completely transformed. He woke at 6:15 on the morning of July 5th, not in his Buckhead mansion, but in a modest 3-bedroom house in a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of Atlanta. He had sold the mansion 2 weeks ago. Too many memories. Too many shadows. Maya needed a fresh start, and so did he. He walked down the hallway and paused outside his daughter's bedroom door. Through the crack, he could see her sleeping peacefully, her teddy bear tucked under her arm, her curly hair spread across the pillow. No nightmares last night. The therapist said that was a good sign. His phone buzzed. "Detective Johnson, today's the day, Mr. Washington. Jury selection starts at 9. You ready?" Marcus looked at his daughter one more time, then stepped away from the door. "As ready as I'll ever be. Remember what we discussed? The prosecution will call you as a witness. Victoria's defense attorney is going to try to paint you as an absent father who's projecting guilt onto his wife. Don't let him get under your skin." "I know." And Marcus, Maya doesn't have to testify. Her recorded interview and the medical evidence are strong enough. Don't put her through that unless it's absolutely necessary. I already told her she doesn't have to go anywhere near that courtroom. "Good. I'll see you at the courthouse." Marcus ended the call and went to make breakfast. Pancakes with blueberries. It's Maya's favorite. He was flipping the third one when he heard the soft whir of her wheelchair coming down the hallway. "Daddy, is today the day they put Victoria on trial?" He turned to see Maya in the kitchen doorway, her eyes still heavy with sleep but alert with something else. Anticipation, fear, hope. "Yes, baby, today's the day." "Can I come?" Marcus set down the spatula and walked over to kneel beside her chair. "Maya, we talked about this. The courtroom is going to be full of strangers. There are going to be reporters and cameras. Victoria is going to be there, and her lawyers are going to say things that aren't true. It's not a good place for you. But I want to see her face when they say she's guilty. I want her to know that I'm not scared of her anymore." The words hit Marcus like a punch to the chest. His 7-year-old daughter, who had been terrorized for 2 years, wanted to face her abuser in court. "Let's make a deal," he said carefully. "We'll see how today goes. If things are going well, if it looks like we're winning, maybe you can come for the verdict. But not before then." "Okay." Maya considered this for a moment, then nodded. "Okay, but you have to tell me everything that happens, promise." "I promise." The Fulton County Courthouse was surrounded by news vans and reporters when Marcus arrived at 8:45. He pushed through the crowd without making eye contact, ignoring the shouted questions and flashing cameras. "Mr. Washington, is it true your wife kept a torture journal some? Marcus, do you blame yourself for not seeing the signs sooner? Mr. Washington, what do you say to people who think you're just trying to get custody?" He kept walking until he reached the courthouse steps where Detective Johnson was waiting with 2 uniformed officers. "Vultures," she muttered, leading him inside. The prosecution filed a motion to keep most of the evidence sealed, but details have been leaking anyway. Someone on the defense team, probably. "Let them leak. The more people know what Victoria did, the better." "That's not how this works, Mr. Washington. Public opinion can influence jurors. The defense will argue that Victoria can't get a fair trial because of all the media coverage. If the judge agrees, we could be looking at a mistrial." Marcus stopped walking. "You're telling me she might walk free because too many people know she's guilty. I'm telling you that the law is complicated and nothing is certain until the jury delivers a verdict. Now come on, we have a meeting with the prosecutor before court starts." Assistant District Attorney Aaliyah Brooks was waiting in a conference room near the courtroom. She was a sharp young black woman with natural hair and eyes that missed nothing. "Mr. Washington, thank you for coming early." She gestured to a chair. "We need to go over your testimony one more time." "I've been over it 100 times." "Then one more won't hurt." She opened a folder. "The defense is going to focus on your absence. They're going to argue that you were a neglectful father who left your disabled daughter in the care of a stepmother, then blamed that stepmother when things went wrong. They'll suggest that Maya's injuries were accidents caused by her disability and that you're too guilt-ridden to accept that." "That's insane. The medical evidence clearly shows abuse." "Yes, and our experts will testify to that. But the defense has their own experts who will say the injuries are consistent with repeated falls from a wheelchair. It's going to come down to credibility. Who does the jury believe?" "They should believe Maya. She told them exactly what happened." She told Dr. Chen in a recorded interview. "The defense is going to argue that she was coached, that you told her what to say because you wanted out of your marriage and custody of your daughter." Marcus felt the rage building. "I didn't want any of this. I wanted my daughter to be safe. I wanted my marriage to work. I wanted to believe that Victoria was a good person." "I know, and that's exactly what you need to convey to the jury." Aaliyah leaned forward. "Don't be angry on the stand, Mr. Washington. Be sad. Be confused. Be a father who loved his daughter but made the mistake of trusting the wrong woman. The jury needs to sympathize with you, not see you as someone with an agenda." The courtroom was packed when the trial began at 9 o'clock sharp. Marcus sat in the front row behind the prosecution table, his hands clasped tightly in his lap. Victoria was brought in through a side door, flanked by 2 bailiffs. She wore a conservative navy blue dress and minimal makeup. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She looked nothing like the glamorous woman who had charmed her way into his life 3 years ago. She looked innocent. That was the point Marcus realized. Every detail of her appearance had been calculated to make the jury see a devoted wife who had been wrongly accused. Victoria's eyes swept the courtroom and found Marcus. For just a moment, the mask slipped. He saw something cold and hard beneath the surface. Then she looked away and the wounded wife expression returned. Her attorney, a tall white man named Franklin Pierce, approached the bench with the confidence of someone who had won more cases than he had lost. "Your Honor, before we begin jury selection, I'd like to raise a motion regarding the admissibility of certain evidence." Judge Evelyn Carter, a distinguished black woman in her 60s, looked at him over her reading glasses. "What evidence, Mr. Pierce?" "The recorded interview with the alleged victim. We believe the child was coached by her father and should not be considered reliable testimony." Aaliyah was on her feet immediately. "Your Honor, the interview was conducted by a certified child psychologist using standard protocols. There is no evidence of coaching." "The father was present during the interview," Pierce countered. "His mere presence could have influenced the child's statements." "Mr. Washington was in the room at the child's request because she was terrified. Dr. Chen will testify that she took steps to ensure Maya's statements were her own." Judge Carter held up a hand. "I'll allow the recorded interview as evidence, but I'm also going to allow the defense to question Dr. Chen extensively about her methodology. Anything else before we proceed?" Pierce nodded. "We'd like to request a change of venue due to prejudicial media coverage." "Denied. We discussed this in chambers. The jury will be instructed to avoid media coverage during the trial. Now, let's get started." Jury selection took the entire first day. Marcus watched as potential jurors were questioned about their knowledge of the case, their opinions on child abuse, their ability to be impartial. Several were dismissed immediately when they admitted to having already decided Victoria was guilty. By 5 o'clock, a jury of 12 had been selected. 8 women, 4 men. 3 of the women were mothers. Marcus hoped that meant they would understand what Victoria had done. He drove home to find Maya waiting at the kitchen table with her grandmother Denise's mother, who had flown in from Chicago to help. "How did it go, Daddy?" Marcus sat beside her and took her hand. "They picked the jury. Tomorrow the real trial starts." "Did you see Victoria?" "Yes." "Did she look sorry?" Marcus thought about that cold flash he had seen in Victoria's eyes. "No, baby. She didn't look sorry at all." The next morning, opening statements began at 9:30. Aaliyah went first. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this case is about trust. A father trusted his new wife to care for his disabled daughter. A little girl trusted her stepmother to protect her, and both of them were betrayed in the most horrific way imaginable." She walked slowly in front of the jury box, making eye contact with each juror in turn. Over the next several days, you will hear evidence that Victoria Sterling Washington systematically abused 7-year-old Maya Washington for nearly 2 years. You will see medical records documenting broken bones, bruises, and burns. You will hear Maya's own words describing the torture she endured. And you will understand why we are asking you to find the defendant guilty of aggravated child abuse conspiracy and false imprisonment. Franklin Pierce rose for his opening statement with a sad smile on his face. Ladies and gentlemen, this is indeed a case about trust, but it's also a case about a grieving husband who couldn't accept that his second marriage was falling apart. Marcus Washington buried himself in work after his first wife died, leaving his disabled daughter in the care of my client. When he finally came home and saw that his daughter was struggling, he needed someone to blame, so he blamed his wife. He spread his hands in a gesture of helplessness. Victoria Sterling loved Maya. She cared for her every single day while Marcus Washington traveled the world building his tech empire. Did accidents happen? Yes. Maya is a wheelchair user with limited mobility. Falls are inevitable, but accidents are not abuse, and a loving stepmother is not a criminal. Marcus gripped the edge of his seat so hard his fingers went numb. It took every ounce of self-control he had not to stand up and scream that Pierce was lying. The first witness was Dr. Angela Morrison. Aaliyah walked her through her credentials, then got to the heart of the matter. Dr. Morrison, when you examined Maya Washington on June 14th, what did you find? Multiple injuries in various stages of healing. Fresh bruising on her upper arms and torso consistent with grabbing and restraint. Older bruising on her shoulder blades and ribs. And approximately 24 circular scars on her lower back consistent with burn wounds. Burn wounds from what? Based on the size and pattern, I believe they were caused by cigarettes or a similar heated object. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Several jurors shifted uncomfortably. And in your expert opinion, could these injuries have been caused by accidental falls? No, the location and pattern of the injuries are completely inconsistent with falls from a wheelchair. These are defensive injuries. They indicate that Maya was being grabbed, held, and struck by another person. Franklin Pierce approached for cross-examination with a sympathetic expression. Dr. Morrison, you're a pediatrician, correct? Not a forensic expert. I have extensive training in recognizing signs of child abuse. But you're not a forensic expert. You haven't spent years studying injury patterns in controlled environments. No, but I have spent 20 years treating injured children. I know the difference between an accident and abuse. Do you? Because I have a report here from Dr. Edward Walsh, who has spent 30 years as a forensic pathologist who examined the same medical records and concluded that Maya's injuries could be consistent with repeated falls from a wheelchair. I disagree with Dr. Walsh's conclusion. Of course you do, but the point is reasonable experts can disagree about what caused these injuries. Isn't that true? Dr. Morrison hesitated. It's possible to disagree, yes, but in my professional opinion, thank you, doctor, no further questions. Marcus felt his stomach drop. Pierce had planted doubt in less than 5 minutes. The trial continued through the morning with testimony from the nurses who had treated Maya, from Detective Johnson about her investigation, and from the child psychologist who had interviewed Maya. At 2:15, the prosecution played Maya's recorded interview. Marcus watched the jury's faces as his daughter's voice filled the courtroom, as Maya described the hitting and the pinching, as she explained how Victoria would lock her in the basement closet for hours, as she talked about the day Damon first burned her with a cigarette while Victoria watched and smiled. Several jurors were crying by the end. One of the men looked like he wanted to be sick. Pierce declined to cross-examine the recording itself, but he made sure to note for the jury that Marcus had been present during the interview. At 4:45, the prosecution called its final witness of the day. The people call Gloria Thompson. Marcus straightened in his seat. Gloria had been his housekeeper before Patricia. She had left the Washington household 8 months ago, and Marcus had never known why. A middle-aged black woman walked to the stand, her hands trembling as she was sworn in. Ms. Thompson, Aaliyah began, you worked for the Washington family for approximately 6 months, is that correct? Yes, ma'am. Why did you leave? Gloria's eyes filled with tears. Because I couldn't stand what was happening to that little girl, and I was too afraid to stop it. The courtroom went silent. Can you describe what you witnessed? I saw Mrs. Victoria hit Maya with a wooden spoon when she spilled juice. I saw her pinch Maya so hard she screamed. I saw her lock Maya in the basement closet and tell Patricia not to let her out no matter how much she cried. And Gloria's voice broke. Take your time, Aaliyah said gently. I saw the man, Damon. He came to the house one day when Mr. Washington was traveling. Victoria took him into Maya's room and closed the door. I heard Maya crying. I heard her begging them to stop. And I didn't do anything. I just stood there and listened. She looked at Marcus with tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, Mr. Washington. I should have called the police. I should have protected her. I was a coward, and that little girl paid for my cowardice. Marcus nodded at her. He couldn't speak. The rage and the grief were too tangled together. Pierce's cross-examination was brief but brutal. Ms. Thompson, why did you wait until now to come forward? I was scared. Scared of what? Of Victoria, of what she might do to me. But you're not scared now. I'm more scared of what will happen if she goes free. Convenient, isn't it? You stay silent for months and then suddenly you're brave enough to testify right when there's a trial. I know what I saw. Or you know what you were paid to say. Aaliyah was on her feet. Objection. There's no evidence this witness was paid anything. Sustained? Mr. Pierce, watch yourself. Pierce smiled thinly. No further questions. Court adjourned at 5:30. Marcus drove home feeling like he had been through a war. Maya was waiting for him at the door. Daddy Grandma showed me the news. They're saying the trial isn't going well. Marcus knelt beside her wheelchair. Don't listen to the news, baby. They don't know everything. But what if the jury believes Victoria's lies? They won't. How do you know? Marcus took her hands. Because the truth is on our side, and the truth always wins in the end. He hoped he was right. Day 3 of the trial brought the testimony Marcus had been dreading. Victoria Sterling Washington took the stand in her own defense. She walked to the witness chair slowly, her movements careful and precise. She placed her hand on the Bible and swore to tell the truth with tears in her eyes. Franklin Pierce approached her gently. Victoria, I know this is difficult. Take your time. Thank you. Her voice trembled beautifully. Can you tell the jury about your relationship with Maya? I loved her from the moment I met her. She was this beautiful, fragile little girl who had lost her mother. All I wanted was to help her heal. Did you ever abuse her? Never. I would never hurt a child. The very thought makes me sick. Then how do you explain her injuries? Victoria sighed. Maya is a wheelchair user with limited upper body strength. She falls constantly. She bumps into furniture. She tried to climb out of her chair once and fell down 3 stairs. I took her to the hospital every time something happened because I wanted to make sure she was okay. What about the burns on her back? Victoria's face crumpled. I don't know how those happened. I swear to God I don't know. Maybe it was Damon. Maybe he did something when I wasn't looking, but it wasn't me. It was never me. And the testimony we heard from Gloria Thompson. Gloria was fired for stealing. She has every reason to lie about me. Marcus gripped the seat so hard his knuckles went white. Gloria had not been fired. She had quit. Victoria was lying under oath, and there was nothing he could do about it. Aaliyah's cross-examination was fierce. Mrs. Washington, you claim Gloria Thompson was fired for stealing. Do you have any documentation of that? It was handled privately. So no documentation. What about Patricia Barnes? She has agreed to testify against you in exchange for a reduced sentence. Is she lying too? Patricia will say whatever she needs to say to save herself. And the medical experts who testified that Maya's injuries are inconsistent with falls. They're wrong. All of them. Every single medical professional who examined your stepdaughter is wrong. Accidents happen. Children get hurt. That doesn't make me a monster. Aaliyah walked to the prosecution table and picked up a photograph. Your Honor, I'd like to enter this into evidence as People's Exhibit 47. She handed the photograph to Victoria. Can you tell the jury what this is? Victoria's face went pale. I don't know. You don't know. Let me help you. This is a photograph recovered from Damon Sterling's laptop. It shows you holding a lit cigarette to Maya's back while she's restrained on a bed. Damon Sterling is visible in the reflection of the mirror behind you. The courtroom erupted. Judge Carter banged her gavel repeatedly. Order, order in this court. Victoria was shaking. That's not me. It's manipulated. It's fake. Our forensic experts have verified that this photograph is authentic and unaltered. Would you like to change your testimony? Mrs. Washington, Victoria looked at her attorney. Pierce was staring at the photograph with an expression of horror. I want to invoke my Fifth Amendment right not to incriminate myself. Mrs. Washington, you already took the stand. You can't selectively invoke the Fifth. Then I have nothing more to say. Aaliyah turned to the jury. No further questions? The photograph was passed among the jurors. Several of them refused to look at Victoria afterward. Court adjourned for the day at 3:45. Marcus called Maya from the courthouse steps. "Baby, I think we're going to win." "Really?" "Really." The prosecutor showed a photograph that proves Victoria was lying about everything. The jury saw it. They know the truth now. "Daddy." "Yes. I want to be there for the verdict. I need to be there." Marcus closed his eyes. He had promised to consider it. And now with victory so close, maybe Maya deserved to see justice delivered. "Okay, baby. When the verdict comes, you'll be there." Day 4 was closing arguments. Aaliyah stood before the jury one final time. "You have seen the evidence. You have heard the testimony. You have looked at photographs that no human being should ever have to see. There is no doubt about what happened in the Washington household. Victoria Sterling Washington tortured a 7-year-old disabled girl for nearly 2 years. She burned her with cigarettes. She locked her in dark closets. She poured cold water over her head and called her worthless." She pointed at Victoria. "This woman is not a loving stepmother. She is a predator who preyed on the most vulnerable person she could find. And today, you have the power to make sure she never hurts anyone again." Franklin Pierce gave his closing argument with less confidence than he had shown on the first day. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to remember that the burden of proof lies with the prosecution. They must prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, and while the evidence in this case is disturbing, there are still questions. Questions about the authenticity of photographs. Questions about the motives of witnesses. Questions about whether a father's guilt might have led him to see abuse where there was only accident. He spread his hands. "If you have any doubt at all, you must acquit. That is the law. That is justice." The jury retired to deliberate at 11:30 in the morning. Marcus sat in the courthouse hallway with Detective Johnson watching the clock, waiting for his phone to ring. 1 hour passed, then 2, then 3. At 4:15, the bailiff appeared. "The jury has reached a verdict." Marcus's heart nearly stopped. He called Maya's grandmother and asked her to bring Maya to the courthouse immediately. 20 minutes later, Maya rolled into the courtroom beside him. She was wearing her best purple dress, and her hair was done in 2 perfect puffs. She looked terrified and determined at the same time. Victoria was brought in and seated at the defense table. She glanced at Maya, and for just a moment, something ugly flashed across her face. Maya did not look away. She stared directly at her abuser with an expression that said, "I am not afraid of you anymore." Judge Carter addressed the jury. "Has the jury reached a verdict?" The foreman, a middle-aged black man, stood. "We have your honor. On the count of aggravated child abuse in the first degree, how do you find—" "We find the defendant guilty." A wave of murmurs swept through the courtroom. "On the count of conspiracy to commit child abuse, how do you find—" "We find the defendant guilty." "On the count of false imprisonment, how do you find—" "We find the defendant guilty." "On the count of aggravated assault, how do you find—" "We find the defendant guilty." 4 counts. 4 guilty verdicts. Victoria Sterling Washington was going to prison. Victoria slumped in her chair, all the carefully constructed composure finally crumbling. She looked at Marcus with hatred burning in her eyes. "This isn't over," she hissed. "I will appeal. I will fight this. You haven't won anything." Judge Carter banged her gavel. "The defendant will be silent. Sentencing will take place in 2 weeks. Court is adjourned." As the bailiffs led Victoria away, Maya tugged on Marcus's sleeve. "Daddy, is it really over?" Marcus looked at the woman who had tortured his daughter being escorted out of the courtroom in handcuffs. He thought about Damon Sterling, who had already pleaded guilty to avoid an even longer sentence. He thought about Patricia Barnes, who would spend years doing community service and testifying in child abuse cases. "Yes, baby," he said, pulling her into his arms. "It's really over." 2 weeks later, Marcus and Maya returned to the courthouse for sentencing. Judge Carter looked at Victoria with an expression of barely contained disgust. "Mrs. Washington, you were entrusted with the care of a vulnerable child who had already lost her mother. Instead of love, you gave her cruelty. Instead of protection, you gave her pain. You burned a 7-year-old girl with cigarettes and then lied about it under oath." She leaned forward. "I have been a judge for over 20 years. I have seen terrible things, but what you did to Maya Washington is among the worst I have ever encountered. You showed no mercy to that child, and I will show no mercy to you." Victoria began to cry. Real tears this time, not the theatrical ones she had used during the trial. "Please, Your Honor, I made mistakes. I need help. Please don't." "Victoria Sterling Washington, I hereby sentence you to 25 years in the Georgia Department of Corrections with no possibility of parole for 15 years. You are also permanently barred from any contact with Maya Washington or her family for the rest of your natural life." Victoria screamed. As the bailiffs dragged her away, "Marcus, Marcus, please! You have to help me! I'm sorry! I'm so sorry!" Marcus did not look at her. He kept his eyes on his daughter, who was watching the scene with a strange expression on her face. "Maya, are you okay?" Maya nodded slowly. "I thought I would feel happy when she got sent to prison, but I just feel tired." Marcus understood. Justice had been served, but it could not undo what had been done. It could not heal the scars on Maya's back or erase the memories from her mind. But it was a start. "Let's go home, baby," he said softly. "Let's go home and start living again." As they walked out of the courthouse into the warm Georgia sunshine, Maya reached up and took her father's hand. "Daddy." "Yes. Thank you for believing me. Thank you for fighting for me. Thank you for not giving up." Marcus felt tears sliding down his cheeks. "I will never give up on you, Maya. Never. Not as long as I live." She squeezed his hand tightly. "I know, Daddy. I know." And together, father and daughter walked toward the car, toward home, toward a future that finally looked bright. 6 months had passed since Victoria Sterling was sentenced to 25 years in prison. The leaves had changed from green to gold to bare branches, and now the first signs of spring were beginning to appear in the Atlanta suburbs. Marcus stood at the kitchen window of their new home, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of orange and pink, thinking about how far they had come. His phone buzzed, a text from Dr. Angela Morrison. "Today is the day. Maya's evaluation is at 10. I have a good feeling about this." Marcus smiled and typed back a quick response, then headed down the hall to wake his daughter. He found Maya already awake, sitting up in bed with her teddy bear in her lap. She was staring at the ceiling with an expression he could not quite read. "Good morning, baby. Did you sleep okay?" "I had a dream about Mommy." Marcus sat on the edge of her bed. "What kind of dream?" "A good one. She was standing in a field full of flowers, and she was smiling at me. She said she was proud of me. She said I was going to do something amazing today." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "Your mommy was always proud of you, Maya, and she would be so proud of who you're becoming." "Daddy, do you think the doctors are right? Do you think I might be able to walk again?" This was the question Marcus had been both hoping for and dreading. 6 months ago, Dr. Morrison had referred Maya to a specialist who believed that with intensive physical therapy, there was a small chance that Maya might regain some mobility in her legs. The damage from the car accident that had paralyzed her at age 3 was severe, but not complete. There were nerve pathways that had never been properly explored. "I think you're the strongest person I know," Marcus said carefully. "And I think whatever happens today, we're going to handle it together. But what if the doctors say I can't? What if I've been doing all this therapy for nothing? Then we'll figure out the next step. But Maya, the therapy hasn't been for nothing. You're stronger than you were 6 months ago. You're happier. You're healing in ways that have nothing to do with walking." Maya looked at her teddy bear, running her fingers over its worn fur. "Victoria used to say I was broken. She said I would never be normal. She said I was just taking up space. Victoria was wrong about everything, and she's spending the rest of her life in prison because of how wrong she was. I know, but sometimes her voice is still in my head. Sometimes I still hear her telling me I'm worthless." Marcus took her hands in his. "Listen to me, Maya. You are not worthless. You are not broken. You are not taking up space. You are a survivor. You are a fighter. And no matter what the doctors say today, you have already proven that you are stronger than anyone who ever tried to hurt you." Tears slid down Maya's cheeks, but she was smiling. "I love you, Daddy." "I love you too, baby girl. Now let's get ready. We have an appointment to keep." The rehabilitation center was busy when they arrived at 9:45. Maya had been coming here 3 times a week for the past 6 months, working with physical therapists and occupational therapists, pushing her body further than anyone thought possible. Dr. Sarah Chen, the neurological specialist who had been overseeing Maya's recovery, met them in the lobby. "Maya, Marcus, come on back. We have the results from last week's tests." Marcus pushed Maya's wheelchair down the familiar hallway past the therapy rooms where they had spent so many hours to Dr. Chen's office at the end of the corridor. "Please sit down." Dr. Chen gestured to the chairs across from her desk. "Maya, how are you feeling today? Nervous?" "That's completely understandable. The tests we ran last week were comprehensive. We looked at nerve conduction, muscle response, spinal cord imaging, everything." And Marcus leaned forward. "What did you find?" Dr. Chen smiled. "We found something remarkable." She turned her computer monitor so they could see the images on the screen. This is Maya's spinal cord 6 months ago. You can see here where the damage occurred during the accident. These dark areas represent scar tissue that was blocking nerve signals from reaching her legs. She clicked to a new image. And this is Maya's spinal cord now. Do you see the difference? Marcus stared at the screen. The dark areas were still visible, but they were smaller, and there were new pathways, bright lines that had not been there before. What does this mean? It means the therapy is working. Maya's body is creating new neural pathways around the damaged areas. It's called neuroplasticity, and it's extremely rare in cases of childhood paralysis. But Maya's brain is literally rewiring itself. Maya grabbed Marcus's hand. Does that mean I can walk? It means you have the potential to walk. But Maya, I need to be honest with you. This is going to take more time, more therapy, more hard work, and even with all of that, we don't know how much mobility you'll ultimately regain. You might walk with assistance, you might need braces, you might only be able to take a few steps. But there's a chance. Dr. Chen nodded. Yes, Maya, there's a real chance. Maya burst into tears. Not the quiet, suppressed tears Marcus had seen so many times before, but loud, joyful sobs that shook her entire body. Marcus held her while she cried, his own eyes blurring with tears. Daddy, she was wrong, Maya gasped between sobs. Victoria said I would never walk. She said I was broken forever, but she was wrong. She was wrong, baby. She was so wrong. Doctor, Chen handed them a box of tissues. I'd like to start Maya on an intensive therapy program, 4 days a week instead of 3, and I want to try some new techniques that have shown promising results in cases like hers. Whatever it takes, Marcus said. Whatever she needs. Good, because Maya, what you've accomplished in the past 6 months is extraordinary. Most patients don't see this kind of improvement. Your determination, your willingness to push through the pain, it's making a real difference. I've never seen anything quite like it. Maya wiped her eyes. I had something to prove. What do you mean? Victoria said I was worthless. She said I would never amount to anything. She said no one would ever love me because I was just a burden. Maya looked at her father. I wanted to prove her wrong. Not for her, for me, for Daddy, for Mommy. Dr. Chen reached across the desk and squeezed Maya's hand. You've already proven her wrong, sweetheart. Everything from here is just a bonus. They drove home in a state of joyful shock. Marcus kept looking at Maya in the rearview mirror, watching her face as she processed what the doctor had said. Daddy, can we stop somewhere? Where? The cemetery. I want to tell Mommy. Marcus felt his heart clench. They had not visited Denise's grave since before the trial. He had been too consumed with the case, with protecting Maya, with surviving each day. Of course, baby. We can do that. Oakland Cemetery was quiet in the mid-morning light. Marcus pushed Maya's wheelchair along the familiar path past ornate monuments and simple headstones until they reached the small plot where Denise was buried. The headstone was simple, just the way Denise had wanted it. Denise Marie Washington, beloved wife and mother forever in our hearts. Maya reached out and touched the cold stone. Hi, Mommy, it's me. I know it's been a long time since we visited. A lot of things happened, bad things. But Daddy saved me, and the bad people are in jail now. Marcus stood behind her, his hand on her shoulder, listening. The doctor said I might be able to walk someday. Can you believe it? They said my brain is making new paths around the hurt parts, like a river finding a new way to the ocean. She paused, her fingers tracing Denise's name. I miss you, Mommy, every single day. Sometimes I dream about you, and when I wake up, I forget for just a second that you're gone. And then I remember, and it hurts all over again. Tears were streaming down her face now. But I'm going to be okay. Daddy takes good care of me, and I have a new therapist who helps me talk about my feelings. And the kids at my new school are nice. There's a girl named Emma who uses a wheelchair too, and we're best friends. She looked up at the sky. I know you're watching me, Mommy. I can feel it sometimes, especially at night, when Daddy tucks me in. It's like you're right there, just on the other side of something I can't see. So I want you to know that I'm fighting. I'm fighting to walk again. I'm fighting to be happy. I'm fighting to prove that what Victoria did to me didn't win. She took a deep breath. I love you, Mommy, and I'm going to make you proud. I promise. Marcus knelt beside the wheelchair and wrapped his arms around his daughter. They stayed there for a long time, father and daughter mourning what they had lost, but grateful for what they still had. The new therapy program began 2 days later. Marcus adjusted his work schedule, delegating more responsibilities to his management team so he could be present for every session. Maya attacked the therapy with fierce determination. She pushed herself harder than anyone expected. She cried from the pain and frustration but refused to quit. She fell down 100 times and got back up 101. Weeks turned into months. Spring became summer, and summer began to fade into fall. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, Maya began to improve. First, it was just a twitch. A tiny movement in her big toe that made the therapist gasp. Then it was a slight bend in her knee, barely visible but undeniably real. Then it was the ability to feel pressure on her feet, something she had not experienced since the accident 4 years ago. On September 15th, 3 days before Maya's 8th birthday, Dr. Chen called Marcus with news that made him pull over to the side of the road. She's ready. Ready for what? Ready to try standing, with support, obviously, but Marcus, the muscle development in her legs has exceeded all our projections. Her nerve responses are stronger than they've ever been. I think it's time. Marcus could barely breathe. Tomorrow morning, we want you both here at 8, and Marcus, whatever happens, you should be prepared for this to be emotional, for Maya and for you. He did not tell Maya what the appointment was for. He simply said that Dr. Chen wanted to see her for some special tests, but Maya knew something was different. She could see it in his face. Daddy, why do you keep looking at me like that? Like what? Like you're about to cry. Marcus laughed. I'm just proud of you, baby, that's all. You're hiding something. Maybe. You'll find out tomorrow. Maya narrowed her eyes. I don't like surprises. You'll like this one, I promise. The next morning, they arrived at the rehabilitation center at 7:45. Dr. Chen was waiting with a full team, including Maya's regular physical therapist, an occupational therapist, and 2 nurses. Good morning, Maya. Are you ready to work hard today? I'm always ready to work hard. Good, because today we're going to try something new. They wheeled Maya into the largest therapy room, where a set of parallel bars had been set up. The bars were positioned at just the right height for someone Maya's size to grip while attempting to stand. Maya stared at the bars. Her face went pale. You want me to stand up? We want you to try. You've been working toward this for 9 months, Maya. Your body is ready. The question is, are you... Maya looked at her father. Her eyes were wide with fear and hope and something else. Something that looked like defiance. I'm ready. The next hour was the most intense Marcus had ever witnessed. The therapist positioned Maya between the parallel bars, supporting her weight while helping her place her feet flat on the ground. They guided her hands to the bars, showing her how to grip them for maximum stability. Okay, Maya, we're going to slowly reduce our support. You're going to feel your legs start to take some of your weight. If it's too much, just say so and we'll catch you. Maya nodded. Her jaw was set. Her knuckles were white on the bars. Ready? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. The therapist slowly released their hold. For one breathless moment, Maya stood there, her legs trembling violently, her face contorted with effort. Then she collapsed. The therapist caught her before she hit the ground. It's okay. That was amazing, Maya. You held it for almost 3 seconds. Maya was crying. I couldn't do it. I couldn't stay up. You did do it. You stood up, Maya, on your own legs, for 3 whole seconds. Do you understand how incredible that is? But I fell. Everyone falls. The important thing is that you try again. They positioned her between the bars again. This time she lasted 4 seconds before her legs gave out. Again. 5 seconds. Again. 6 seconds. Again. 8 seconds. Each time she fell, the therapist caught her. Each time she demanded to try again. After 45 minutes, Maya was exhausted, sweating, shaking with fatigue, but her eyes were blazing. One more time, please, I can do better, Chakato doctor. Chen looked at Marcus. He nodded. One more time, Maya, then we rest. They positioned her between the bars. Maya gripped them so hard her arms shook. The therapists released their hold. Maya stood. 1 second. 2 seconds. 3. Her legs trembled. Her face was red with effort. 4 seconds. 5 seconds. 6. Come on, baby, Marcus whispered. You can do this. 7 seconds, 8 seconds, 9. Maya screamed a primal sound of pain and determination. 10 seconds, 11 seconds, 12. Her right foot slid forward, just an inch, but it moved. Oh my God, Dr. Chen breathed. She's stepping. 13 seconds, 14 seconds. Maya's left foot dragged forward to meet her right. 15 seconds, 16, another step, then another. Marcus was crying openly now. He could not stop. He did not want to stop. Maya took 4 steps between those parallel bars before her legs finally gave out. 4 steps that should have been impossible. 4 steps that proved Victoria Sterling wrong about everything. The therapist caught her as she fell, lowering her gently to the mat. Maya was sobbing and laughing at the same time. "I did it, Daddy. Did you see I walked? I actually walked." Marcus rushed forward and gathered her into his arms. "I saw baby. I saw everything. You were amazing. You were so amazing." Dr. Chen was wiping her own eyes. "Maya, in 20 years of practice, I have never seen anything like what you just did. That was a miracle." Maya looked up at her father through tear-blurred eyes. "Victoria said I would never walk. She said I was broken. She said I was worthless." "And what do you say?" Maya smiled a real smile that lit up her entire face. "I say she can go to hell." Marcus laughed, startled by his daughter's language, but unable to argue with the sentiment. "Yeah, baby, that's exactly right." 3 days later, on Maya's 8th birthday, the community threw a party in the neighborhood park. It was not just a birthday celebration. It was a celebration of survival, of justice, of hope. Half the neighborhood showed up. Detective Johnson came with her partner. Dr. Morrison brought flowers. Dr. Chen arrived with the entire therapy team. Gloria Thompson, who had testified against Victoria, stood in the back with tears in her eyes. Marcus had set up a special area with Maya's parallel bars from the rehabilitation center. The therapists had given permission for Maya to demonstrate her progress for the people who had supported her through the darkest days. "Are you ready?" Marcus asked, kneeling beside her wheelchair. Maya looked out at the crowd of people who had come to celebrate her, people who had believed in her, people who had fought for her, people who had proven that she was not alone. "I'm ready." Marcus helped her position herself between the bars. The crowd fell silent. Maya gripped the bars, took a deep breath, and stood. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Then Maya took a step. And another. And another. She walked the entire length of the bars 6 feet without falling. The crowd erupted in cheers. People were crying, hugging each other, chanting Maya's name. Maya reached the end of the bars and turned around to face them all. Her face was streaming with tears and sweat. Her arms were shaking from the effort. But she was standing. She was standing on her own 2 feet. "I want to say something," she called out, her small voice carrying across the suddenly silent park. Everyone waited. 2 years ago, I thought my life was over. I thought no one would ever love me. I thought I was broken and worthless and better off dead. Marcus felt his heart break and heal at the same time. But I was wrong. I was wrong because I had a daddy who never gave up on me. I was wrong because there were doctors and police officers and neighbors who believed me when I told the truth. I was wrong because even when everything seemed hopeless, there were people who kept fighting for me. She looked at Marcus. Victoria tried to destroy me. She tried to make me believe that I was nothing. But she failed. She failed because love is stronger than hate. She failed because the truth is stronger than lies. She failed because I am stronger than anything she could ever do to me. Maya raised her chin, standing tall between those parallel bars. My name is Maya Washington. I am 8 years old today. I am a survivor of child abuse, and I am never going to let anyone make me feel worthless again. The crowd erupted again, louder than before. People rushed forward to congratulate her, to hug her, to tell her how proud they were. Marcus stood back and watched his daughter receive the love she had always deserved. A hand touched his shoulder. He turned to find Detective Johnson standing beside him. "You did good, Marcus. You saved that little girl. She saved herself. I just gave her the chance." "That's what good parents do. They give their children chances." Detective Johnson paused. "I got some news this morning. Victoria Sterling filed another appeal. It was denied. She's not getting out." Marcus nodded slowly. "Good." Damon Sterling's parole hearing was also denied. He'll serve at least another 15 years. Good. And Patricia Barnes finished her community service. She's been volunteering at a children's shelter. Apparently she's trying to make amends. Marcus thought about Patricia, about the woman who had watched his daughter suffer and done nothing. He did not know if he could ever forgive her, but he hoped that she had found some measure of peace. "Thank you for everything, Detective. I don't know what we would have done without you." "Just doing my job, Mr. Washington." She smiled, but I have to admit this one was personal. Seeing Maya up there walking, speaking out, it makes all the hard days worth it. That night, after the party was over and the guests had gone home, Marcus sat beside Maya's bed the way he had done every night since he found her in that backyard. "Daddy." Yes, baby. I had another dream about Mommy last night. What happened in this one? She was standing at the end of a long road. I was walking toward her, and she was smiling. When I got close, she hugged me and said she was proud of me. She said she knew I would do amazing things. That sounds like a beautiful dream. It felt real. It felt like she was really there. Marcus stroked her hair. Maybe she was baby. Maybe she's always with you, watching over you, cheering you on. Do you believe that? I do. Your mommy loved you more than anything in this world. That kind of love doesn't just disappear. It stays with us. It guides us. It protects us. Maya was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that made Marcus's heart stop. Daddy, I forgive Victoria. What? I forgive her. Not because she deserves it. She doesn't. But because I don't want to carry her around in my heart anymore. She's been living in my head for 2 years, telling me I'm worthless, telling me I'm broken. I don't want her voice in there anymore. I want to fill that space with better things. With Mommy's voice, with your voice, with the voices of all the people who love me. Marcus stared at his daughter, awed by her wisdom. When did you get so smart? Maya grinned. I've always been smart, Daddy. You just weren't paying attention. He laughed and kissed her forehead. Good night, baby girl. I love you. I love you too, Daddy, more than all the stars in the sky. Marcus turned off the light and walked to the door. He paused and looked back at his daughter, already drifting off to sleep, her teddy bear tucked under her arm, a peaceful expression on her face. 2 years ago, she had been a prisoner in her own home, terrorized by a woman who was supposed to protect her. 1 year ago, she had been a traumatized child, afraid to speak, afraid to trust, afraid to hope. 6 months ago, she had been told she might walk again and had devoted every ounce of her strength to making that dream come true. And now here she was, walking, speaking, forgiving, living. Not just surviving, living. Marcus closed the door softly and walked to his own room. He sat on the edge of his bed and looked at the framed photograph on his nightstand. Denise holding Maya as a baby, both of them smiling at the camera. I kept my promise, he whispered. I protected her, just like you asked. He could almost hear Denise's voice in his head, soft and warm and full of love. I know you did. I always knew you would. Marcus lay down and closed his eyes. For the first time in 3 years since the night Denise took her last breath, he felt at peace. The nightmares that had plagued him were gone. The guilt that had consumed him was fading. The future that had seemed so dark was now bright with possibility. His daughter was healing. His family was whole. His promise was kept. And somewhere in a place beyond pain and sorrow and fear, Denise was smiling down at them both. 1 year later, on the anniversary of Victoria's conviction, Maya walked across the stage at her school assembly to receive an award for courage. She walked without the parallel bars, without anyone holding her up. She walked on her own 2 feet, steady and strong, while the entire auditorium rose to give her a standing ovation. Marcus sat in the front row, tears streaming down his face, clapping until his hands hurt. Maya took the microphone and looked out at the crowd. When I was 7 years old, someone told me I was worthless. Someone told me I was broken. Someone told me I would never amount to anything. She paused, letting the words sink in. But here's what I learned. The people who try to break you are already broken themselves. The people who call you worthless are the ones who feel worthless inside. The people who try to steal your hope are the ones who have lost all hope of their own. She held up the award, a small trophy in the shape of a heart. This award is for courage, but I want you to know something. Real courage isn't about being fearless. Real courage is about being terrified and doing the hard thing anyway. Real courage is about falling down 100 times and getting up 101. Real courage is about taking one more step when every part of you wants to give up. She looked at Marcus. My daddy taught me that. He taught me that no matter how dark things get, there's always a reason to keep fighting. He taught me that love is stronger than hate, and truth is stronger than lies, and hope is stronger than despair. She smiled, radiant and powerful and utterly unbreakable. My name is Maya Washington. I am 9 years old. I survived child abuse and I learned to walk again, and I am standing here today to tell every single person in this room that you are stronger than you know, you are braver than you believe, and you are worth more than anyone who ever tried to hurt you could possibly imagine. The auditorium exploded in applause. Marcus rose to his feet, his heart overflowing with pride and love and gratitude. His daughter had been through hell and come out the other side transformed, not broken, not defeated, transformed into something stronger and brighter and more beautiful than he ever could have imagined. Victoria Sterling had tried to destroy Maya Washington. She had failed. Because you cannot destroy a spirit that refuses to be broken. You cannot silence a voice that insists on speaking truth. You cannot extinguish a light that burns with the fierce, unstoppable power of love. Maya stepped down from the stage and ran into her father's arms. I did it, Daddy. I really did it. Marcus held her tight, feeling her strong legs beneath her, feeling her steady heartbeat against his chest. You did, baby girl. You did everything. And in that moment, surrounded by cheering crowds and flashing cameras, and the overwhelming evidence of his daughter's triumph, Marcus Washington finally understood something that had eluded him for years. He had spent so long trying to protect Maya from the world, but in the end, it was Maya who had shown the world what true strength looked like. Not the strength of muscles or money or power, the strength of a child who refused to give up, the strength of a survivor who chose hope over despair, the strength of a little girl who walked when everyone said she never would. That was the legacy Victoria Sterling never intended to create. That was the victory she could never take away. And that was the truth that would echo through generations, inspiring every person who heard Maya's story to believe that no matter how dark the night, the dawn would always come. Because love is stronger than hate. Truth is stronger than lies. And the human spirit, when it chooses to fight, is absolutely unbreakable. Maya Washington proved that, and the world would never forget it.